right, here we go. We got one of the OGs in hip-hop media, Elliott Wilson. Finally, our first interview ever.
With the drums behind me, man. It's legendary, man. Thank you, brother. Finally.
We've known each other for about 20 years now.
Yes.
Yeah, when I used to come by XXL, you know?
Yes,
you were in the big office. I was dealing with the Bonsus and, the workers.
Thompson. Yes, indeed.
Exactly. Well, I want to get into your whole story, but I think before we start, I want to talk about the hip-hop media power list, which we're both on.
Yes, indeed.
Because there's been a little bit of talk about it. There's been some back and forth. So
you should have been higher, Vlad. You should have been higher on that thing, man.
I'm surprised I'm even on it, honestly. I get hated on so much. I'm never on, whenever award shows, I'm never nominated for anything. So if I'm on something, I'm like surprised.
There we go.
But let's talk about this list because it's an interesting list, and I think that Compass did a pretty good job.
Okay, I thought so too.
Yeah. So let's start at 25. Gabe P., who is the owner of On the Radar.
Absolutely. Good brother out there in New York City. Created his own platform. All the artists want to go through, like he helped build Cash Cobain, the new generation of New York City hip hop. He's doing his thing.
Well, yeah, I mean, On the Radar, I think when Drake
him and Central C
jumped on it, I think that really legitimized the platform.
Absolutely.
100%. That really, not to say that it wasn't legitimate before, but I think once Drake jumped on it,
because when I was talking to Gabe,
it.
In the beginning was supporting the local New York scene at that time.
Yeah.
Which is very drill music, borderline violent. Like a lot of these guys were catching cases, and then here comes Cash Cobain. He brings the sexy drill shit. But you've seen now they've expanded. They have a whole Nashville iteration that they're doing. R&B artists, DJ sets. He's taking the momentum of all that, especially getting that Drake and Central C look, and took it to another level.
Yeah, great job, man. Shout out to Gabe P. Number 25 on the list.
You gonna do the whole list like Charlamagne?
Do the whole list. Do the whole list.
Let's go, Vlad.
Number 24. Number 24. Arshawn Jawade from Kids Take Over. I'll be dead honest.
Not familiar. Me neither.
Not familiar.
Love and respect, though.
Oh. And I'm gonna keep it funky. I looked through the channel and I looked at the interviews they got along with the views and everything.
Okay. Not there?
Not there yet.
Okay.
Not there yet. The total subscribers, everything else like that. He got a few interesting interviews, and I'll give him that.
Yep.
But I feel, for example, there's some people that got left out, like Sean Cotton from Say Cheese.
I see that the most. People saying Say Cheese, you can't snub Say Cheese.
Look.
It's also gets a blurry line of I saw people talking about, Akademiks talking about it, are you talking about a platform or the personality, right? Because VladTV is led by your content, not you as on camera being the personality, right?
But still me as a personality. I have other interviewers like Sean, Sean Perez does interviews, but it's mostly me.
You branded it, but I'm saying but you can't deny Say Cheese's impact. So how do you not give him recognition in the space?
Well, Say Cheese introduced the world to Charleston White. For better or for worse, they're the reason why everyone knows about Charleston White.
Okay.
I did my first Charleston White interview after seeing him on Say Cheese.
Wow.
And he continues to interview him. So to leave him off, I thought was a little criminal.
Yep.
Or like Math Hoffa is off the list this year as well. I think he was on last year.
He was on last year,
But this year, so, listen, this is not a shot at Arshawn, but I just feel there's other people
that
are more deserving of that slot.
Yep.
So it is what it is. If Arshawn wants to, diss me in his platform, he's welcome to do it. I'm just keeping it 100.
100%.
Jason Lee from Hollywood Unlocked. Good dude.
Still active.
Yes.
Made the Revolt show thing happen for himself and kept active,
Plus his award show.
Yep. Award show.
Is a big deal.
Got Cardi there last year, right? Yeah. Huge.
Yes. Did Floyd Mayweather, I think the year before. A lot of big connects, does a lot of big interviews.
Yeah.
Absolutely should be on there.
Shout out Jason Lee.
Adam 22 of No Jumper.
He's got to be there.
Right.
Maybe too low. He's
number 22.
20. That's editorial, right? The 22 is the 22.
Yeah, I think it was almost an inside joke.
Yeah, exactly.
He was upset over being that low. Yeah, he was upset over being on the list so low. I think he should be higher because he's had a lot of viral moments.
Yes.
Yeah, I don't. I think he's too low on the list. But I also have a personal relationship with him. I've been on his show multiple times. He's been on my show a bunch of times. So, yeah.
You guys have both built amazing platforms. Yeah, I think he should be. I think he kind of, obviously, I missed the Adam of at the level of Triple X era where he was talking to all the young artists at that time. Obviously, the porn things worked. He's expanded beyond that. Some ways, I feel like he's kind of lost his course with that. But at the same time, He empowered Whack. He still has an important platform. 22 does still feel very low for him. It seems like a joke because he's Adam 22.
And he's number
put
22.
Him at 22.
Yeah, I think that's why they did it to him.
Yeah. He should be higher.
My man Van Lathan, formerly of TMZ,
Shout out Van.
I think has carved out a lane for himself.
Yep. He has his own podcast on Ringer Network. Yep.
I mean, I would say, and I know both of them, I would say that Adam should be higher than Van.
I agree.
And this is no shot to either person.
No shots.
You know, because I think Van has.
It's funny. I think Adam and Van did a whole thing of like talk about dissecting my place in hip hop media and all that.
I saw that.
No, but I would still put Adam above Van because of the platform he built. Absolutely.
Yeah.
No jumper.
Trap Laura Ross.
He's out here. He should be there.
First time on the list. I actually interviewed him for the first time a few months ago.
Oh, great.
This one is interesting because he doesn't actually interview people. Mm-hmm. He creates documentaries.
Yeah. Which Akademiks says like that's the new form of journalism in a sense, right? At least for what the kids connect to, right?
Yeah.
This sort of investigative thing. Because now we've talked about it. There's a whole internet culture of like we want to solve the crimes. We want to find the Easter eggs and what happened here and connect all these things. So, and he does it in a very like stylish way. Like he really puts things together and he like grabs your attention and does these very like engaging videos that recap things. So.
Well, yeah. I mean, his big one was the Big Von, hip hop's first serial killer documentary, and he said in our interview that he went through every single tweet Von has ever done since he joined Twitter.
I gotta respect that.
Yeah, and he kind of
research.
He would tie murders to what Von would tweet shortly afterwards and stuff like that. Yeah, and shootings and everything else like that. It'd be someone gets shot, be like, "Oh man, be safe out there." Like 10 minutes later, and you know. Not to say that proves anything. And at the end of the day, Von is dead, so we don't really know. But he's done a good job, and I think he's really owned that lane in terms of hip-hop documentaries.
And that's his first time on the list? I don't know for sure. Yeah. Oh, he definitely belongs.
Yeah.
Definitely belongs.
Nadeska. I've said this before. I don't really see her legitimately part of this list. Mm-hmm. Because... she does get occasional interviews.
She has a show on Apple.
Apple. The interviews don't really get a lot of views. Like, for example, one of the things where as I went through the list was, she did 4 Bats first interview. But it got like 40,000 views. Yeah. So it's like...
and then it's like a debate show, not a debate show, but sort of like a roundtable show that her, Ebro, and Low Key do for Apple. Which, again, I don't feel like really has as many breakthrough moments. Yeah, but it exists.
Which says a lot.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not a shot at those 3. But like I said, I just don't.
I think Nadeska is dope, but I can see her not making the list because of not enough impactful content.
It's not enough impact. It's not. I don't know her personally.
She's a dope journalist. She's from our breed. She's a journalist. She's a traditional journalist who's done on camera stuff now and elevated that way. So
I'm not taking away from her actual skill at the job that she does. Absolutely. But this is the power list. Mm-hmm. So you have to make an impact. Mm-hmm. Your stuff has to go viral. Millions of people have to see it. You have to see it on other platforms and, clipped up and so forth.
Take me out that top 5.
Hey, listen.
It's coming. It's coming.
That's what it is. Number 18, Sway.
Okay. Big Sway.
I mean, Sway's the OG of this. He's been doing it way before, definitely way before me. Yeah. Was he doing it before you?
That's always the debate. I think Sway.
I think so.
I get put in the big dog, big boy, legendary category. Like so, Sway, Angie, Big Boy, and me. And I think all of them might have been doing it a little before me. Honestly, like I was 92 in the game. I think Sway and Angie might have been a little bit before that on the radio.
Yeah,
I'm not sure about Big Boy. So it's like I might be the youngest of that OG class in a sense. But yeah, so Sway been doing it.
Yeah,
I mean, remember MC Sway was a rapper.
He was.
Everybody forgets that.
Yeah.
They don't know about MC Sway.
Him and King Tech had their own show for a long time. No, he had one album out.
MC Sway, man.
MC Sway.
He got bars for you right now. Sway got some bars for you right now.
Have you ever seen him without his hat?
No, I have not.
I don't think anyone has.
Yes. Legendary.
I think it's all skull.
Even though Cool J eventually showed us.
I know exactly, but Sway, I've never seen him without his hat. I think he doesn't have any hair. I think he just has a huge skull. It's all like skin and bone up there. That's why he wears the hat. But, I think it's cool that he is where he is on the list because when you look at his interviews, he gets a lot of big names, but they don't do big numbers. Mm-hmm. So I think it's fair for him to be relatively low on the list.
Mm-hmm. but he's still consistent with the content.
But he's still consistent with it.
Remember a dope LL freestyle. Like he'll have these sort of moments.
He's got his moments.
He'll bring the culture towards him. Like, oh shit, that went on Sway show. Boom.
Well, he's got the morning show on
Shade 45.
Shade 45, which automatically a lot of people get funneled through there. Unlike the independent media outlets have to kind of scratch for each of their interviews. He gets a lot of stuff that's just kind of handed to him. But listen, I grew up listening to Sway, in the Bay Area on KMEL, the Wake Up Show, everything else like that. I've been on the Wake Up Show. I've been on his show a couple times. He hasn't been on my show yet. Heard he's got a little bit of issue with me. It is what it is. But I think where he is pretty much fair.
Yep.
Angela Yee, I've known her for a while.
Yep.
And I feel like her show makes a reasonable amount of noise.
In the beginning stages, it's early
service
still, too, yeah.
And she's got some good guests on there.
To make that transition out of the Breakfast Club, which I say is like the greatest hip-hop morning show to me that was built, her to make that segue to build her own show.
Yeah.
It's still in the early stages, but I think it's been impactful enough that she still warrants being on that list at this point. Yeah,
I agree.
Yeah.
Big Boy at number 16, I feel is low on this list because he's got a lot of big interviews.
You know who's dope? I met a woman on his staff that's like the social media. I feel like she's done a great job of like clipping up his stuff and like really putting it into the ecosystem. Like, he's kind of presented himself kind of in a new, fresh way. Obviously, with the momentum of Kendrick's situation, obviously on the West Coast, I think he's definitely stepped to the forefront. So my respect for him continues to grow. And I think Big Boy definitely earns his spot on this list.
Well, I think he should be higher on the list.
Yeah,
there's people that are listed over him, which when you look at how big some of these interviews, he's gotten Kanye and stuff like that somewhat recently. YG and a lot of people, 50 Cent comes to his show. So it's like, I just think it's a little bit low. I think
he has access to certain artists that other people can't talk to.
He was at the Kendrick pop-up show, the pop-out show, on stage with Kendrick.
Probably got the best shot to get a Kendrick interview if anybody can get one.
Exactly. So I think he's a little bit low on the list.
Yep, I agree.
Angie Martinez.
Big Angie. Started a podcast, very impactful numbers with the podcast.
Big numbers?
Yeah. I think solid at least, no? Laura London, that was big. Certain interviews she's done.
Okay, that was a while
ago. The podcast.
Was that
not in the past year? It's really from the last time they did that. So it could be a little bit of last year and also this year, honestly. Like doing the research.
The Laura London interview was 2 years ago.
Okay.
So, yeah. I don't know. Angie's been doing it for a while. She interviewed Pac back in the day.
I like though, again, I'm on the most recent interviews, but I feel like she's been pretty consistent with the podcast. And a lot of radio hosts haven't been able to make that transition of making a podcast. So I think she's done a good job in that realm that warrants that change. That she's not just relying on that. And she still gets if the Lotto comes to town, like the young female MCs or that type of person, they still want that Angie Martinez interview if they're in New York City. I think she kind of holds that spot still, even above the station that she left, which is High 97. Yeah. I think she still has that slot where it's like, if you're doing a New York run, you still want to have the Angie sit down. I think she still maintained that.
Right, she's on Power 105, right?
Yeah, she's on Power 105. Yeah. But I'm saying, I don't know if Hot has a person where they feel like they have to go to have that thing. I feel like you still want that Angie cosign, especially if you're a young female artist in the game.
Fair enough.
On the R&B side or hip-hop.
Yeah, Angela Yee sort of is in that role as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Number 14, Bootleg Kev.
Kev, finally on the list. Definitely deserves to be there.
I think so, too.
Absolutely. Consistent work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was supposed to do his show at one point. I remember he brought up, because I remember early on in his career, he reached out to me to do an interview, and I was like, Kev, I'll be honest with you, your numbers aren't there yet for me to do the interview yet. But let's keep talking. And I remember he's like, oh yeah, Vlad turned me down last month. And I'm like, no, it was 2 years ago. I've got the text messages. You're welcome to tell the story, but don't.
So now he's VladTV worthy, man.
Yeah, but don't put a little extra sauce on it. It was way early on when you had maybe a few thousand subscribers or whatever else. But I'm like, let's keep in touch. And
I told him use it as motivation.
And I told him I'll do a show this year. Let's just figure out a time and so forth. And I've always told him congrats on what he's pulled off. He's gotten a lot of really good guests and so forth.
It's hard for white guys to get along in hip-hop.
I know, right? No, we do get along, though. No, we do get along. No, it's not that, because there is that. You're right. You got the white-on-white crime in hip-hop.
White-on-white crime is...
You get that.
Woo.
You get that. You get that. Well, which brings me to the next one, Rory Mal.
Rory
which
Mal.
I get that from him. He's always been a hater with me. And
Which one? Which one?
Rory.
I love Rory. That's my
know.
guy. You want me to squash that? I'll squash that.
You can squash it. We can have a conversation.
That might also be an extension of your Joe Budden beef.
Well, that's where it started. Him and Joe, I understand why Joe talks shit about me, right? My history with Joe goes back, 12 years, the whole ransom situation. Everyone knows about that. I understand why Joe has problems with me.
Yep.
And, me and Joe have fired back and forth.
And Joe in recent times has given you some, he acknowledges your growth and impact in the space.
Oh, yeah.
And has given you that respect. Again, you can respect somebody or not respect some parts of what they do.
Yeah.
And you don't have to be friends, right? It's fine.
Exactly.
It's acknowledgement, like what you did with Keefe D and all that type of stuff. No one can deny your impact on culture and the work you put in. So, yeah, I think you and Rory could get to a place where you could have a great conversation.
I have no problems with him, but he would always talk shit about me when he was on Joe Budden's podcast.
Of course.
But he doesn't know me. We've never met. He's just riding with his boss. And his boss fires him. And where does that leave you? You left for those old beefs. Like, it's a little silly.
But even now, Vlad, you have to acknowledge, I don't know, your place should probably be higher on the list. How people view you right now is not how they maybe viewed you a year ago or 2 years ago. Is that fair to say? Yeah. So, because of the work you've done. So, again, you can't expect everybody to connect to a certain thing. It's like, and you also had to break a certain stigma of VladTV is just trying to get to the dirt. And
the police,
he's going
the
for
feds.
that shit. Police is the feds. Like, break these stereotypes or these sort of labels on yourself. So, you're in a different space. I think he's in a different space. I think it could be a great conversation.
I've never had a problem with damn near anyone who's had beef with me. I'm always open to have a conversation.
Absolutely.
Because I remember even Joe Budden, because I remember when Joe went over the list, so someone sent this to me, and he mentioned my name. He's like, oh, no, Vlad, we had our differences, but, I respect his business acumen and, what he's put in and so forth. Because I remember even at one point, Akademiks said that Joe wants to do an interview on Akademiks' platform with me and him, with Akademiks kind of being there.
That's probably the best
way.
And
I said, I'm open to that, but me and Joe have to have a conversation first. We're not just going to sit there after years of problems and just try to hash it out in real time.
Phone call first.
No, we can have a phone call. We can check each other's temperature. And if it feels like we're cool, I can go do that on Akademiks' platform. But I'm not just going to sit there with someone who I really have a problem with. And listen, me and Ellie Chopper was talking shit about each other a lot. And then we got on the phone, we talked, and then we did an interview. Me and Tariq Nasheed.
Yeah, sometimes you got to do the phone call first.
You got to do the phone call first. And if you don't want to do the phone call, then we're not going to do the interview.
I agree.
That's that. But I think that if me and Joe actually did that interview, everyone would tune in to watch.
Absolutely.
Everyone.
I think it's inevitable.
Yeah. But with Rory, if you want to set up the call, I'm totally open for it. Them being 13 on the list, I think is a little bit high, though.
Well, they got a lot of heat off the Drake Kendrick thing because Mal took such a strong pro-Drake stance in the beef, and they had some inside information about the records that were coming, and so they was kind of involved with it because of Mal's association with OVO. So I think that's what elevated them because obviously the Drake Kendrick conflict was the biggest story. So I think that up there their impact on the situation. So I think that's what warranted it there. Maybe you may say too high, but I definitely think they belong on the list.
Well, no, I'm not saying they don't belong on there. I do think that when you look at like Adam 22, Jason Lee, Big Boy, the fact, that they're over all these guys, I think is a little bit unfair.
Okay.
That's my personal opinion. Number 12, Lil Yachty and Mitch. This is a bit of a head scratcher to me.
It's a head scratcher? Why?
You think that they deserve to be 12 on this list?
Well, I think that people like the idea of a young artist embracing this space and being dedicated to it. I think that's what it is. I think Yachty is very beloved, even though at times he goes all over the place. And, I said he's recently frustrated me with all his antics, how he doesn't stay consistent. But no, I think it's just embracing like a young artist saying, hey, I want to build this media platform. I think they like the dynamic of him and his man, who we don't know who this guy is, but he's like, you go into his weird bedroom type thing. He got J. Cole on the platform. That was big. So
J. Cole was on the show?
Cole went to the show, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right, that's a big deal.
Yeah.
I'll give him that.
Yeah.
Number 11, Nori.
N-O-R-E.
Yes, we both
He got hair now, Vlad.
What's that?
Nori got hair now, man.
I know, right?
Nori got hair, baby.
We've both done a show in the past year.
Absolutely.
And I'm going to say that's probably my favorite interview that I've done on someone else's platform.
Wow. Drink Champs?
Drink Champs. Yeah, 3 hours of just talking shit. You know, drinking.
Nori has a gift to make, besides the liquor or whatever you may drink or whatever, like, Nori does a great job of making you feel comfortable to kind of show your real self and just, like, let it out. Like, he doesn't get enough credit for that. That's why the show works.
No, absolutely. Absolutely. And because me and him, it's kind of funny because when he was first launching his show, maybe about a year into it, he had reached out to me and he was like, yo, I want you to do my show. I said, no problem. Because, you know, anyone who does my show, I'll do their show automatically.
Trading features.
Trading features. Exactly. That's how I look at it.
Yeah.
You know? And I said, sure, I'll do it.
You don't charge me, I don't charge you.
Exactly.
Boom, boom, boom.
Exactly. Yeah. So if you ever want me to do your show, you know what it is.
Absolutely.
And I remember he hit me and I was like, cool, I'll do it. I'm just not going to drink. And he was like, what do you mean you're not going to drink? Everybody drinks. I'm like, yeah, I just don't want to get drunk on camera. And then this turned into a, do you know who I am? Both ways. He's like, you know who I am? You know who I am? You know who I am? And it just started to escalate. Neither person wanted to back down.
That's hilarious.
And we stopped talking for like 3 years. And we were actually friends up to that point. And then I remember maybe about a year and a half ago, I reached out to him and I said, yo, bro, congratulations on your success. You know, if you ever want to talk, let me know. He's like, yo, thank you. It took about a year for us to get on the phone.
Mm-hmm.
We got on the phone, we chopped it up. And I said, listen, next time in Miami, if you still want me on your show, I'll come do it. He goes, absolutely. I went to Miami, did the show.
And that's where you had the best interview, you said.
And I absolutely I just love the way I was presented and what I talked about. And, you know, and it became one of the most viewed Drink Champs episodes of that time.
I missed that one.
We did like 1.5 million views or something like that.
I'm watching that shit tonight. I missed that one.
Yeah, no, it was a big deal. And I thought it came out well.
Yeah. Shout out Nori.
Nori
should be a little higher?
I think Nori should be higher.
A little higher, right?
I think so. Because he gets important interviews with important people, and I think the format,
right? I mean,
and it's consistent. The whole, it checks off all the boxes. I just feel it's a little bit too low on the list.
And shout out EFN. I feel like he never gets enough credit.
Exactly.
As co-hosts.
Yeah. Well, they work well together.
Yeah, absolutely.
Number 10, Nardwuar.
All right, now we get top 10. Let's
top
go.
10, top 10, top 10. Number 10 is Nardwuar.
Woo. Vlad.
A very unique. Nardwuar deserves to be where he is because he's a very unique entity, and he gets some very big interviews that are very. And the research, I think Nardwuar's research is above all of us. Mm-hmm. He'll pull out some things that the guests will be like, "Yo, how'd you know that?"
Yeah,
you know, I mean,
he's
people call me the police
friend. Yeah, and getting some intel.
Like, no, he'll find like their third grade school teacher and find the drawing they did that was put on the wall, like. Yeah, the stuff he has. It still
works. And in the persona, it's like disarming.
Yeah,
like,
it is.
How do you know this? He's telling you the thing. It's like, how the fuck you know this? It's just like, it never like gets stale. It's always like a fresh reveal, like every time.
No. Nardwuar's dope.
Yeah.
Gilly Wallow.
Yeah. I mean, that was worth a game.
Yeah. Last I checked, Gilly doesn't like me over old incident. Over an old incident. You know what it was? I never actually talked
about a game of one-on-one. You ready to play, Vlad? You can play ball?
A little bit. I think what happened was maybe like 10, 11 years ago, it was around the time of my 40th birthday. He had done something with Will Smith, and he told me he's going to get me like all the footage. And then he kept sort of like kind of putting me off whenever I asked him for it. But he told me he would do it. And then I think that kind of created a little bit of a bad energy between us. Okay. So then when he got on, I was like, hey, by the way, if you ever want me on your show or if you want blah, blah, and I heard he's still mad over that. Okay. So that's why we've never done anything together. But my thing is like, who cares? Like this is some old 10-year-old shit. We've both done well since then. There's no reason why we can't rock with each other.
Yeah, I think
and to me, it's always a little weird when people hold on to these decade-old grudges over nothing. There was no altercation. There was no bad words. No one lost any money. Yeah. It's just people's egos.
Absolutely.
So Gilly, when you hear this,
that's another phone call needed.
It's all love.
There's a phone call that's needed there.
Yeah. Let's have a conversation. We don't have to work together, but you know what I mean? But I've heard him badmouth me to other people, and it's just like, it's a little weird when I heard it. But saying that, I do think Gilly Wallow should be on this list And I think their number actually is a bit low. I think they should be higher than 9.
Yeah. I saw a lot of people say Drink Champs and
Drink Champs and Gilly Wallow, I think, should be higher on
Maybe
the
they
list.
haven't had the star level guests that maybe we're used to them getting.
Yeah.
But does that mean that they belong in those slots? That's probably the big debate people are saying.
Number 8, Anthony Fantano for a needle drop. I know Anthony.
Which is different because you're kind of pulling out of, is it hip hop personalities? Media? How do they say it? Media personalities?
It's the media power ranking.
But is hip hop part of it or no?
Yeah.
In the title, right?
Let me just double check.
Yeah, so it's Anthony hip hop though. That's the thing. He comments on hip hop things.
Hip hop media power ranking.
Yeah, I don't know. See, I don't agree with that. I don't consider him hip hop media per se.
He does album reviews.
And he covers hip hop sometimes, but he covers all the genres.
He does.
So what makes him hip hop media?
Well, but to be fair, I cover a lot of genres also.
I know, but you're rooted.
I'm rooted in hip hop.
I'm listening to the Rap Phenomenon mixtape. You're Vlad TV. You made mixtapes. I know your story.
Yeah, I mean,
it's debatable. Is all I'm trying to say.
It's debatable
Maybe
because
it's I definitely would have him lower. I'd have him lower.
Yeah, well, because he strictly does album reviews.
Yes, nothing outside of that.
That doesn't. I mean, it is hip hop media because obviously, his Double XL had album
reviews on hip hop matter, right? What he says about hip hop matters, but if he's doing all the genres and there's nothing outside of what he does there, and if it's a hip hop media list, then he's too high.
I agree.
He should be on it maybe, but he's not. He's too high.
A little bit lower, I think.
Yeah.
Anthony, me and you were cool, man.
No, he's doing great work. No one will beef. You Anthony, I don't want that, my G.
I got to keep it honest. I got to keep it honest.
Anthony, I want no problems, my G.
Right.
But I'm just saying.
Pull up on you. There might be a gangster side of
Anthony.
Anthony.
Don't pull up on me, baby. I'm a civilian. Don't touch me, my G. I'm good.
Number 7, Ebro.
Shout out Ebro.
I feel like he's too high on this list.
Wow.
I feel like
hating on the old man Ebro.
I mean, me and Ebro know each other. We've had meetings.
He still commandeers the Hot 97 Morning Show. He's got the Apple gig, He's outside.
But I feel like he doesn't move the needle.
Okay.
When was the last time that Ebro really had an interview or something that really impacted something? I don't want to give people these slots just because they happen to be at a big radio station.
So you think he earns a slot, but maybe not a top 10 slot?
No.
Not a slot at all, you saying?
No, somewhere in the top 25.
Yeah, but not
maybe
top 10.
Maybe around 15
but not
or something.
Top 10.
Yeah, right around there with Sway and, and Angie Martinez and, the OGs that have been doing it for a while and so forth, but not top 10.
I don't even know if Vlad's going to put me there yet. We're not there yet.
Well, and
bated breath. Let's do it.
I got a little bit of a kick over being one slot higher than Ebro. Because I'm number 6.
See, it matters who you're close to, right? That's the problem Charlemagne has. It matters who you're close to.
It matters who you're close to.
Who's your little bunker, your little friend? So number 8.
Well, no, number 7 is Ebro.
Ebro 7.
I'm 6.
Big Vlad.
Yes.
Okay.
I'm always surprised when I get on the list, period.
Is that the highest you've ever been?
I was 9 last year.
9 last year,
yeah.
Gotcha.
So I don't really want to talk about myself. How do you feel about me being number 6 on the list?
Argument can be made that you should be higher. Absolutely,
really?
Yes. Especially come off the Keefy D shit, right? You're at the height of your impact of what you do. No one can talk about your consistency in terms of what you build with this platform. You were ahead of the curve, right? Your individual platform. We all thought you was crazy. None of us gave you the respect.
Yeah.
And you did the work. Simple as that. I was there. And I always say my biggest career not regret, because I don't believe in regrets, but mistake was not embracing YouTube.
Yeah.
Early on, like I used to think YouTube is the enemy. Like they flagged my shit. Fuck them. Start a new account. Yeah. They flagged this. Instead of realizing this is the outlet that's going to help us, whatever. So what you've done and built with Vlad TV, I think is coming even more to fruition of your recognition of what you've done all these years because of these sort of key interviews you've done in the last year or so. But yeah, of course. I mean, you can't deny your impact. And it's also turned the tide of breaking that narrative that you can only view Vlad TV as one way. Like Vlad is this person who's kind of taking from our culture and not contributing to our culture, which has always been your content to contribute. And I think people are now, you're turning a lot of non-believers into believers, and maybe they don't love you, respect you. They don't love you necessarily, but they respect you. That's the thing too. It's like, I don't want to be beloved. I want to be respected.
Okay.
So I think that's similar to you. It's like you continue to like change people's minds about they need to respect you and respect your platform. So.
Thank you. That means a lot coming from you.
Absolutely.
And you're right. I was the first person in hip hop to go all into YouTube.
Absolutely.
From day one.
Absolutely.
2008. As
100%.
soon as the partner program became a thing, I got on literally in the first couple months.
Absolutely.
And I never took my foot off the gas.
Absolutely. And I don't think enough people know that story. Maybe you should talk about that more too, that origin story of that, because these kids have YouTube as such a constant, and like when there isn't, I'm monetizing through YouTube. It's like that wasn't done back then. It wasn't like
no. I was the first one. I transitioned from DVDs, from street DVDs into YouTube, because as soon as I saw YouTube, I said, "Oh, this is going to be the next big thing. Let me drop what I'm doing. Let me stop doing mixtapes. Let me stop DJing. Let me stop doing DVDs. Let me stop hustling on the side." And boom. Let me just.
How many subscribers does the channel have at this point?
Almost 6. Like 5.9 million.
Yeah, there we go.
Yeah.
But that shit was brick by brick.
Brick by brick.
Brick by brick. So, respect.
And then you're number 5. You're one ahead of me.
Put Elliott at 6. No, 16.
Well, look, I'm going to keep it funky.
Let's keep it funky.
Because I remember when I was on Akademiks show about, 2 months ago, he asked me about you and about where your place is and so forth. I don't know if did you see it?
I probably did, yeah.
Okay.
I would see what
this was before the list came out.
Uh-huh.
And what I said was this.
Okay.
I said, Elliott's dope. He's always been dope. He has monumental interviews. Drake, Jay-Z, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But what I said was that in the current climate, he doesn't put out as much content as his contemporaries.
That's fair.
He's not putting out
like the Big Sean of the Bigger Free.
Yeah.
Haven't put out enough content to compare.
Yeah, because it's like, it was almost a similar criticism to like Carisha Please.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Carisha had very dope interviews, but there'd be months in between those interviews.
Carisha Please, what happened?
Well, the Diddy thing.
I mean, I know what happened, but I'm saying it's crazy how like there's no more Carisha Please. It's crazy.
There is. I mean, she could bring it back, but probably not. Yeah.
She won like 2 podcast awards.
Yeah, she was like podcast of the year, like twice. I didn't even get nominated. She's not on the list. But that's the whole thing of Elliott has incredible interviews, but months pass in between them. And that's why when you look at like on VladTV, we drop 10 clips every day. And then we're literally doing 3, 4, 5 interviews a week sometimes. Adam puts out a lot of content. Akademiks is always putting out a lot of content. Charlemagne, with the Breakfast Club, every week there's content.
Yep.
And that was the criticism that I had of you, and I think it's a fair criticism.
It's fair. You want me to rebuttal why I think I'm important?
Go ahead.
I think what people don't give me credit on, and I think what fans and my peers look at is my presence on social media, my presence on Twitter, my presence on Instagram, that I use those outlets to document the culture in ways that nobody else had done before. So I feel like the way you was ahead of YouTube, I was ahead of Twitter and Instagram. And I said, you know what? It isn't just about like either my plate of food or me like standing in the corner. It's about, I want to use this medium to document hip hop culture. So it's almost like, someone said in the write-up, it's almost like a mood board of like, here's my content I have, but also here's something else dope happened. So if it's a dope interview that somebody else did, I'll put it on my page. And nobody else was doing that. So I think because of that, the Drakes of the world start following me and they leaving comments and liking my shit, and the big artists, and the artists want those looks. But it isn't a shade room kind of thing of like, it's a business behind it. It's actually just an outside outlet that I'm doing, but it's still impactful. So I think what happened was, I could argue like, well, I did this Tyler interview that was amazing. Tyler created this great interview.
Yeah. I
did Young Boy in Utah. I did 1 million views. So I have those sort of things, not as consistent as a pack, but also when I get into a conflict with Nicki Minaj and it plays out on social media, it isn't just I'm like quote unquote trolling. I really saw something, I was commenting on it, and it leads to a thing where now it's raised my profile because people follow me on these mediums. So it's impactful work in that sense where people don't view it as work because Twitter nor Instagram is my platform. But my whole thing is I'm transitioning more and more that people get to know who I am, not the YM persona, but Elliott Wilson. So everything that I do is a platform. If I have a public fallout with Drake, who's the biggest guy in the game, you can't deny my impact and influence on culture.
True.
Even he puts it out to the public. It says, hey, this guy, blah, blah, and it plays out. Kendrick Lamar, if I have a moment where I go to his video shoot, he calls me out, calls me a rat. It's just like it shows. I'm not the old guy in the old club in the bottom half of the list. I'm somewhere near the top because I still am this impactful person, even when I'm in the transitional period where I don't have this like platform and I'm consistently delivering content. So I think I'm just doing it a different way. And I think that was noted that way. So you could argue where I belong on the list, but I definitely think I still belong top 10. I think last year they had me at number 8. 5, maybe too high.
Oh, you were 8 last year?
I was 8 last
So
year.
you're always one ahead of me.
This was destiny, Vlad, for us to come together. They're trying to bring us together.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I'm with it. I love the debate around it. I think it's such a big deal. I just thought it was funny when, like, you go through the list and Charlamagne chose to be like, that's the one thing he's going to center on and make it a big deal. That was interesting to me.
Charlamagne is number 4.
Yep.
And the two of you have been going at it. Number 1, do you believe Charlamagne is fair at number 4?
Absolutely.
Yeah, I agree.
I'm not mad at the top 5. I always say, my ego. I come from an era where I was number 1. I could have the numbers to back it up, and I sold more magazines. For me to be happy to be number 5 on the list, when my ego tells me I'm number 1 because I've been around so long and done so many great things. So I was like, I've never been so happy being number 5 my whole life. I said, I was happy. I was happy with the top 5. I thought the top 5 was a strong top 5.
So really, the issues with you and Charlamagne right now was Charlamagne felt that you were too high on the list.
Well, I think Charlamagne got a lot of issues with me, unfortunately. And I think
what are the other issues?
It's come to light. I don't know. I just don't think we like each other enough to really figure out how to be cool. We've done business together through the years, but I feel like there is a certain tension or uncomfortability between us. And I'm like, let's own it then. We don't have to be cool.
Have you guys ever had a real conversation?
Probably not. I don't know if we can. I don't know if he's capable.
He's absolutely capable.
Okay.
100%.
I don't think he wants to have it with me.
I mean, look, me and Charlamagne were actually really cool for a very long time. I was the first person to ever put him on a platform outside of South Carolina before Wendy found him. He was beefing with...
that was even before Wendy.
Before Wendy.
Wow.
He was beefing on his radio show in South Carolina with Buffy the Body. And I was putting out my beef mixtape, and on the mixtape had a bunch of little segments of various people beefing, and that was one of the segments that we had on there. And he called me up from South Carolina. I think I was in Brazil at the time. He was like, yo, bro, thank you so much. Everyone's hitting me up about this beef mixtape, this DJ Vlad mixtape. It was me and PF Cutter. Remember Street Wars?
PF Cutter.
Yeah. No, P Cutter. Sorry. P Cutter, my bad.
Yep.
And that's how our relationship kind of started. And, when he got fired from the Philly station because of the whole Cassie and Diddy thing, he came on my show to talk about it first. This was before the Breakfast Club. When he got on the Breakfast Club,
that was his last firing for the Breakfast Club.
Exactly. He never got fired after that. but me and him had this really, really dope relationship where he would be on my platform all the time. I would do Breakfast Club, and we had a falling out over my interview with No Plug. This was over the killing of Bankroll Fresh. I interviewed No Plug, kind of similar to what Adam was going through with the guy who killed Pop Smoke. I interviewed No Plug because he killed Bankroll Fresh in self-defense. But at the time, it was very fuzzy, and no one had ever done that. Like an interview with the killer of a known rapper. But my thing was, this was self-defense.
And it was proven that, right? Ultimately?
It was. I mean, the fact that he's doing the interview was already proven. He had turned himself into the police. They went through the video footage, and they concluded that he shot back in self-defense. But Charlamagne was hearing slightly different stories and so forth. Yeah. So me and him had a public falling out because he kind of trash-talked me on Joe Budden's show at the time. Me and Joe Budden were on very bad terms. I was like, that was kind of a nasty way to do it. You could have talked to me about it.
Yep.
And we just stopped talking to each other for a few years. But like you said earlier, at one point TMZ put out the footage of the whole Bankroll Fresh shooting, and you see him in the video waving around a gun. So at one point we just got on the phone and he apologized. He was like, my bad, dude, I'm sorry. And then we got cool again. So he's a reasonable guy.
Well, if he apologizes to me, we can maybe be cool again. But
I'll talk to him. I'll have a conversation. You can call Rory, I'll call Charlamagne.
There you go. My thing will happen quicker than yours. I bet you that. Okay, so Vlad, what would you put me on the list? 17? Give me out the top 10? 11? Put me at 11 or 12. That's where you put me. A little bit out the top 10.
Well, I got to look at the other names.
Okay. Well, the other names belong above me. You can't deny Charlamagne, Cenat, Joe Budden, Akademiks.
I mean, I would put Nori and Gilly above you.
Mm-hmm.
And I'd put you after that.
So put me back at 8.
About 8, yeah.
Yeah, stuck at 8. Damn it.
Yeah, I'm still in top 10.
I'll take it. I'll take it.
Yeah.
Again,
fair.
I'm in a transitional period where I don't have the quote unquote platform.
Right. And you have the new show,
content,
you know, on Hip Hop DX.
Building it, brick by brick, bigger picture.
Yeah, but that's still early. I feel like that show hasn't made the impact yet.
Absolutely.
Not to say it won't, but right now, and that's why I'm basing my decision of like number 8.
Understood. I respect it.
Number 3, Kai Cenat.
Yes. Some people make the argument that he's number 1. He's the only one that can get access to these artists that, even Joe said that humbly, like,
you could
he has
say
access
Kai,
that none of us have.
Nicki Minaj went on a stream.
Really? That happened? I missed that one, Vlad.
No, you did not. No, you did not. But you know, the fact that
Kevin Hart, even that,
Kevin Hart, yeah,
you can't deny that Kevin Hart won, the Kevin Hart and Drewski won. Yep. It's like, but here's my question to you, Vlad, and my bugger with this. It's like, I get that you can sell this narrative that, hey, these are cool kids, they're streamers, they used to play video games, they connect with the youth, now they have this big fan base. So now when they're talking to these artists, you know, and coming to their house on release night when their record's about to drop, like Ice Spice, can't we then still view them as media outlets? Aren't they now being used as media outlets, or embracing that they're used as a media outlet? Like why do we have to always act like there's some innocence that now at the point where this audience is so big, they're in the run with us. And if they're competition, they're competition. So I can't feel a way about it at times or be critical or say something because he's a kid who started the street. He's not that anymore. He's a media outlet. He got Kevin Hart sleeping at his house. Like, what do you want me to do? The reality is the reality. It's like they're going, it's like the Shannon Sharp, Cat Williams. They want to go on Shannon Sharp because the numbers are there. We're in a numbers game.
Yeah.
So now you're no longer this innocent kid playing video games with your friends, with your streaming shit. I literally could go to your thing and see the active audience at one time watch us deliver content. And my movie's coming out, my album's coming out. Dog, you're a media outlet. It's an Arsenio Hall sleepover. It's like, this is the modern day.
Yeah, no,
This is Johnny Carson.
Yeah, no, he's done a great job.
At Kai Cenat's house.
It's 106 in Park, yeah.
It's 106 in Park. Like, he's a media outlet.
Yes.
He could be number 1. He might be number 1.
He might be number 1. There's a great argument for it, and I think because it sort of started out with video game streaming, a lot of people try to downplay it a little bit, but it's more than that now.
Absolutely.
It still embraces that part of it. He still does those, you know, whatever, 3-day video game, you know, marathons, but like, listen, the Nicki's going to his platform.
Well, that doesn't make mixtapes. Elliott doesn't make magazines.
Exactly.
We don't shine shoes anymore. It's like we're different now. We're different. We do different shit now.
The Joe Pesci.
We're not the same guys, but we're still those guys. Like, we're still those guys.
I love
There's
it.
no mixtape dropping tomorrow from Vlad. I can't put a magazine out on your newsstand.
No, you cannot.
But
you cannot.
We're still active, so yeah. That's something. I want to be able to the point where even Ada Ross is interviewing fucking Trump. It's like, so we can't act like they're not media outlets. They're being utilized that way.
Yes.
That's what's going on in the culture.
And it's a new generation. You can't hate on it.
Yeah, that's his magazine. That's his mixtape.
Exactly. What was, because I remember you made a comment about, this is what hip-hop media is now?
I said about journalism, And I was clowning it because I feel like there's no balance, right? Like, I love to be like, you know, at first it was with Drake. It's like Drake don't want to did an amazing serious sit down with me and B-Dot, Rap Radar, but then he does the Bobby thing. I'm like, who's this girl? Like, who's this white girl? And then he sits with Lil Yachty, and it's like, you're just like, you're gonna do media, but in a way where you're in control of it, of your narrative, and not put yourself out there to media. Whatever outlet you trust. Like, so I have a problem with that because there's no balance anymore, right? Like, we want to go get the interview. And our instinct is to go fight to get the interview, right? We fight for these interviews. We work hard for these interviews in these moments. So you can't tell me to shut that competitive fire when that's been my whole life. How did Double XL win? Because every month I competed with the Vibes and whatever was against me, Source, to get the cover of the artist at the right time. So Elliott goes for the story. And if Elliott doesn't get the story, yes, he feels away. That's who I was and who I continue to be. It's like we're going for it. Like, you didn't put your platform by getting what needs to get gotten when it's time to get it.
Yeah.
So again, I just feel like there is a lack of balance of like the artists, this cool era of like artists don't have to do media. They control their own narrative. They don't have to sit with Vlad. They don't have to sit with Elliott or Charlamagne or Ebro, whoever. It's just like, I don't love that. I want more of a balance. So I get that you're going to the streamers because you see the consumption in your face. You see the audience. But I'm going to fight for us. I'm going to fight for sit with the people, sit with the platforms that are on that list that are of the culture and pick one.
There you go.
Who's your trusted source? Like,
I love it.
And if I lose that fair and square, that's fine. But like this whole like skirting around the shit, it's corny to me. But was it right to do that? Put his family? It was wrong. So I apologized to him, but I didn't apologize to Nikki. And that's what it was. And people say so much type like Elliott apologized. It doesn't matter. Apology is accountability. I look at the situation and say, hey, this is what I could have done better here. It doesn't mean that anyone accepted my apology and there's no smoke still. It's the same smoke. My apology didn't reconcile anything. Nicki ain't fucking with me. Drake ain't fucking with me.
Yeah.
So my apology is not like an apology that got me to sort of like reconciliation and we're all super cool again. It's just accountability of like, these are the ways I went wrong. With Drake, it was like, look, this guy's giving me more looks than anybody, right? So if I had a problem with him, I probably should have spoke to him privately first before I aired it out publicly. That's why I apologized to him. Yeah. Simple as that. So, but the beef is still the beef, or the static is still the static at this time. Nothing's changed.
Well, yeah, I remember when you made the comments about Drake doing the interview with Bobby Altoff.
Yep.
He responded, he said, LOL, man, shit's on, not coming to his platform for a second time. And now Elliott 10 toes down doing Yes Jules run-up interviews at Rolling Loud. Just admit the youth took over, big dog.
Yeah, I was at Rolling Loud at the time when it was live. Like, so we're on the feed, whatever their feed was at the time. And I see it on my phone. I'm just like, wait, did he really like air me out like publicly, like in this shit, like that? So I slammed the phone down. I'm just like all of my feelings, like da. And then I think I hit back some weak shit, like so it's public, it's on. Like I don't know if you got my response. I was just like, it's on, because you know you have your behind the scenes shit with people, but it's like, what you remember what I said?
Well, you said I was more so clowning the comedy shenanigans with outsiders to our culture. It would be great to hear Drake speak to us again, even if it ain't me.
Oh, that's that. No, that was before that. So that came after. He clowned me after.
Oh, okay.
So in real time, when I first saw the Bobby shit,
yeah.
So I'll give you the whole thing. So I saw the Bobby interview. I don't know who Bobby whatever was. It's funny because she's really become like a real person now. Back then I didn't even know what it was. So I was just like,
well, he found her on TikTok, I heard.
Yeah,
she was like trending on TikTok.
Yachty says they both found her on TikTok at the same time, and they both did interviews with her. They didn't know each other did the interview, the whole thing. So yeah, I just was taken aback that he did it, and I reacted. I said something slick about it in real time. I forgot what I said. So Drake and everybody got offended by my tweet, airing out or questioning it, right? So then I get the call that night. It's funny because I'm in LA. He had just did a show, I think in Canada, and he brought J. Cole out. So to the internet, it's funny how our world is. Like to the internet, it's like Drake just did another sold out show. He brought out J. Cole. He's the champion of culture, blah, blah. And it's like, as soon as he gets off backstage, he's on the phone airing me the fuck out. Like he's texting me crazy shit. He's mad as fuck. And I'm just like, I'm trying to process, like, why is he so mad at me? I don't understand what I do. Like, what is that? So then it finally hit me. It was like, oh, okay, I shouldn't have criticized this publicly. I should have like said something. I didn't say nothing to you first about it. Like I didn't text you like, you know, what's the fuck up with you and this white girl? Like, what is this shit? Like I just went public with it. Like I have no relationship with him. Which again, I looked at it like, you know, obviously I got a good rapport with Jay-Z. If it was Jay, I would have texted him first and said something, right? So again, as we deal with all the time, I'm sure you know, Vlad, it's like, is it private or is it public? So if I never said nothing to you private about I have an issue with you doing this and the shit looks whack to me, if I say it publicly, people knowing our affiliation and we're cool and I've done most of your interviews or most of your impactful moments, I can understand you feeling away. So I had to deal with that. And then I tried to clean it up with that apology. That didn't work. Again, my apologies don't. My apologies never land.
Yeah.
My apologies suck. They never land, but I still feel it's accountability. I want the record to show as I think about it. What did I say in the statement? Read it again. Sorry.
Hold on a second. You said I was more so clowning the comedy shenanigans with outsiders to our culture.
Yeah.
It would be great to hear Drake speak to us again, even if it ain't me.
Yes, and I believe that.
Hip-hop media.
That's actually what I believe. Yeah. So it's my fight for hip hop media against this different culture of sort of counter traditional media of like the artist is more in control.
Yeah.
And you're just more of like a marketing tool of whatever I want to get off, and I have control of the whole narrative. Where I feel like what we do, there's a little bit more of an exchange, and I miss that.
Yeah.
So I was calling that out. But again, I have to respect. I have like 5-6 Drake interviews. I have the definitive one with the Rap Radar podcast. It's like, I viewed him as the guy. He doesn't really fuck with media. He fucked with me. And I stepped on that. I fucked it up. I fumbled that. So I'm accountable to that. I said that. You know, it is what it is. And I've tried, you know, so what happens, I do that, and then I don't really hear from him. And then, you know, I apologize to him privately about that. I say everything I said to you. And then I don't hear from him. Then I do Rolling Loud. I cover Rolling Loud for the first time. I'm like, yo, Rolling Loud is like the Super Bowl of like hip hop festivals. Like, I meet the guy, Tarek, one of the owners. He invites me to host it. I get my little hosting fee and all that. I'm like, okay, cool. I'm gonna go host this event. I'm gonna run down, do some interviews, connect with the culture. And then, yeah, in real time, he clowns me for, I guess I did a Trippie Redd interview, and he clowned me in real time. So yeah, I'm just like then mad. I'm tweeting this shit out like, oh, it's on, it's public now. Slamming my phone down, I'm all in my emotions and shit. I think Yes Jules was there, my guy Hakeem from our generation. So it's Speedy Mormon. So they're all clowning me like, oh shit, Drake aired you out, Drake aired you out. It's like, so you know how it is. Like, if it plays to the public, then it becomes a huge deal.
Okay, number 2, yes. Joe Budden.
Yes, indeed.
Number 1 last year.
Number 1 last year. Mouse, Joe Budden.
Now, me and Joe have had our public issues, but we actually respect each other professionally.
Yes, I think you both respect each other's growth in this game.
And I will say this, Joe is the only person on this list that's able to carry a show without consistently having guests, outside guests.
Absolutely.
Which is a huge accomplishment.
Absolutely.
Everyone else, including Charlemagne, needs outside guests to pop. And Joe, again, with his own crew, his own employees.
Also, again, I'll say, to be fair, as great as Charlemagne is, Hall of Fame career, he's never truly been a lead mic. He's the third mic in the Breakfast Club dynamic.
He's the third mic?
In the beginning, yes. It was Envy, Angela Yee, Charlemagne the God. Radio works this way, as you know. Number 1 is like the person that opens in and out of the breaks, the anchor, right? You're listening to 105.5, I'm blah, blah. I'm the anchor, right? I talk in and out of the breaks. Envy was that. Usually number 2 is a woman stereotype who's gonna deliver the news or the information, blah, blah. And then the third mic is supposed to be the wild, opinionated person who comes left field and gives their hot takes and salacious type thing. So that's what he was. Even with Brilliant Idiots, him and Andrew trade off who's lead mic. It's 2 mics. So we never listen to nothing that's go to Charlemagne radio and it's just him. And we listen to him.
But I mean,
Joe Budden, even with a cast of characters, is still the main focus of what you're listening to. It's all listening to Joe Budden.
I don't know if I agree with you because I think that most people, and listen, I'm real cool with Envy. Just hilarious, I don't know. But I have respect for what she does. My impression is that most people listen to The Breakfast Club for Charlemagne.
That's exactly what happened. They don't deny that. But he shined out of being a third mic, which is unprecedented.
Okay.
He became the focus.
Okay. I see
because
what you're saying.
I see what you're
saying. So he's not the third mic anymore.
He's still a third mic. In the setup, he's not really.
Okay,
well, he's a 2 mic because the third is not consistent enough as a presence. So now it's really a 1-man, 2-man tandem, but we still play with Envy as the lead and him as the number 2. Okay. And the rhythm of it. Same thing with Andrew. Schultz plays the lead more than Charlemagne does. With the
I never really thought about these things. You know what I mean? Because I've done Brilliant Idiots. I've done Breakfast Club a bunch of times. I'm usually focused on Charlemagne. But then again, my relationship is with Charlemagne. So
he's built it. There's no denying. No one's ever done it that way. It's just like me. Like, it's unconventional. Nobody's ever done it that way. We weren't listening to the Charlemagne morning show. We listened to The Breakfast Club.
Yeah.
The Breakfast Club worked the most because Charlemagne shined as a star within that dynamic.
There you go.
That's all I'm trying to say.
Number 1, DJ Akademiks.
Yeah, big act.
Well deserved.
Got the little one. When Kendrick said, act looking compromised, I said myself, Akademiks is number 1 in hip-hop media. And I think I said it on the first episode we did of The Bigger Picture with me and Jeremy did your head. I was like, I hate to say it, but Akademiks is number, and I like Ak. Me and I get along great. We got a good rapport. But I'm saying, again, my old ego, you know, era where I was undisputedly number 1, right? So it's hard for me to say somebody's a clear, undisputed number 1. When Kendrick said Ak is looking compromised, that crowned him. Like, we know he's cool with Drake, but for Kendrick to acknowledge him in the heat of that battle and saying Ak is looking compromised, like, that was the moment that we all couldn't deny. It's like I said, it's like Lil Wayne when the Carter 3 at the Grammys, it's like, and the winner is Lil Wayne. It's like, yes, like, you can't deny it. Whether you think Carter 3 is his best album or not. When somebody has their moment, That's the best thing. That's what I come from with sports. I love that. Where hate it or love it, like it or not, you know that person had that moment. And it's like, we all got to give it up.
Completely.
And that's what Akademiks did. When Kendrick said, Ak is looking compromised, I was like, oh, he's number one in space. Yeah. He's got it.
Yeah, listen, I embraced Akademiks really early.
You did?
I reached out to him. We established a relationship. This was before the show on Complex.
Everyday Struggle.
Everyday Struggle.
You know the story with that, right?
What do you mean?
I was supposed to do the show with Joe Budden.
You were supposed to do it?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Academic says that my name was on the contract that he got sent.
That's funny.
Yeah.
No, I heard my name came up too, and Joe was like, absolutely not. But
that's after I left. It was like, who we gonna get?
I probably would have done it anyways, but whatever. But no, listen, Akademiks has done his thing. He was the first guy that was streaming all the time that really put that on the map in the hip hop marketplace. He's a big voice. I have done his show more than anyone else in terms of off the record. I've been on his show the most. He's been on my show equally as many times.
It's always great when you guys get together.
It's mutual respect, and it's dope because he's a little bit younger than me, and we both respect each other. And I love when I see people rise. I've never been the hater. If I ever have a problem with anyone in hip-hop media, it's because they had a problem with me first.
So your relationship with Akademiks is obviously probably the most ideal, right?
Yeah.
You saw something special in him.
Yeah.
You embraced him early. Mm-hmm. You guys have done business ever since then.
Yes.
There's mutual respect.
Yeah.
You both elevated your platform at the same time. And it's like, so yeah, for him to get this ascension is perfect. That's what you saw. You saw potential of that.
And I'm not going to say, I should be number one. No. No, I'm not going to say that. I'm happy at my number 6, man. He can have his number 1 because he deserves it.
Here's what I don't like also. Because we say streamers now, and now when we say streamers, we think Cenat because he's bigger, or Adin, these type of people. But to us, to the culture, Akademiks was our first streamer.
Exactly.
And again, Akademiks has done all sort of great things. Like he said, his podcast is dope, done these great interviews. But his sweet spot still is his streaming in that room, going through the daily. I watched the other day, it's like breaking down the Ice Spice first week sales and what does it mean that Elliott Grange, her label now is at Atlantic for her career. Him breaking down Charlamagne's Big Sean interview. He's a master of that. Like his commentary and his insight, when he gets in that zone, when he's in his house and he's sipping his little bubbly, and he's got his shit. Like you can't touch Ak on that. That is the platform. You can't touch him.
He solidified his lane. I'm super happy for him. He a cool ass dude.
Yep.
You know, me and him are legitimately friends, and I'm super happy for his success.
I am too.
And the thing about Ak is that he takes all the drama in stride. He's had a lot of drama in his personal life.
Yeah.
And
that's the thing. The whole write-up of him in Complex is very leading to the drama and being negative towards
he's
him,
always
as you crown him number 1. So.
Yeah, I've always hit him like, yo, bro, you okay? He's like, bro, I'm good. This comes with territory. He's accepted the fact that being who he is, it's going to come with the bullshit sometimes.
We've had the other side where I've tried to do the OG thing at times with him, like, Ak, maybe you should slow down a little bit, young boy. Like, and sometimes he's received that well. And then sometimes he's been like, no, fuck that OG. Like, don't tell me sit down. Like, don't tell me chill. So we've had both those dynamics. So I try to do it both ways with him. It's like, but like you said, for the most part, if he doesn't take it in stride, he still processes it well.
Yeah.
He's dealt with the adversity. He knows the price it pays to be that person on that scale. And he's navigated it pretty well for somebody his age.
Absolutely. And he's inspired me to be a little more vocal about certain things as well. You know what I'm saying? I'll definitely give him the credit for that. So congrats to number 1. You know, Akademiks.
But I love the list. It's a pretty good list overall.
It's a great list.
It's a better list than it was last year, I thought.
Yes, did a great list.
Shout out to Noah Callahan-Bever. Leading that team.
He's back over there. He's back
again,
on
one of the people I helped
again.
put on the game. They said don't put nobody on Vlad, but you know,
you put him on?
Boys.
Okay. Yeah, me and Complex actually had like maybe about a 13-year relationship. And then when they merged with BuzzFeed, BuzzFeed actually stopped paying us.
Wow.
Yeah. All the YouTube accounts that they were overlooking, that they were supposed to pay, they stopped paying everyone, including Needle Drop and Hip Hop DX and everything else like
that. You're on your own?
And they kept over $1 million of my money.
Wow.
And we had to sue them. And then once Complex got sold, then they paid everyone. But they paid us $50,000 less than what they actually owed us. And at the time, we took it because we were worried that BuzzFeed was going to go under. Was going to file for bankruptcy. So I'm still a little salty about that because I felt like I got $50,000 robbed for no good reason because they were really just passing through the money. So they you know, on top of the legal fees and everything else like that. So, but this is a new complex now. I understand. I can't really, you know, it's really a fuck BuzzFeed kind of situation.
You said that before on that record? Okay.
I never said this before.
Gotta have Elliott Wilson on the platform. The truth comes out, man.
Truth comes out. Well, this is your first time here, so I want to get into the whole story now that we've gotten past this old craziness.
Number 8 on Vlad's list.
That's right. So, you grew up in the Woodside houses in Queens.
Yes, indeed. Projects, yep. Apartment 1A.
What was that like in the 80s?
A lot of roaches, man. I always get hung. You know, Puffy tells that story about the roaches on my face and like the roaches is a thing. My therapist told me that's the thing I get fixated on. Like, the roaches thing I couldn't take. Like,
it's crazy.
Going to get a glass of water in the middle of the night and it's just like there's roaches running around. But no, I didn't live in the roughest, toughest projects, but it was the projects, man. It was like that type of thing where, you know, you got the water pressure's amazing, the project heat's amazing, but you know, I literally lived in 1A, so I'm near the pissy elevator and the whole shit. And I remember the first time, I always tell people the story. It's like, remember Roxanne Shante, Have a Nice Day, her and Biz Markie. She had a line in the record. She's like, it's sort of crazy, it's sort of whack. I'm talking about $5 cracks. And she said cracks like plural. And I was like, what's $5 cracks? And then very soon after, I got the inkling of what crack was. And just the first time you smell crack, and what that smell is, and then you see the little vials and the projects and the stairway, like, so yeah, it's the height of that. It's the crack era was the most impactful. At the same time, you have what we say was like our first like golden era, golden age of hip hop. So remember just loving the music, but having to deal with the reality of the culture and, you know, the same dream. It's like you're this project kid, you want to be successful, you want to get out the projects. You know, if you live in the outer borough, it's about making it in money-making Manhattan. You know, it's one token train ride away. You want to make it in Manhattan. You want to be a big, successful person. And like, can you get out the projects and make it happen? So that was always my goal. I always felt like one good thing about my parents is they gave me the confidence to feel like I could be successful in life.
Well, your dad is black.
Yes, indeed.
And your mom is Ecuadorian and Greek.
That is true, yes. My dad is Elliott Sr., I'm Elliott Jr., so I'm EJ to my family.
Got it. And you're mixed, obviously.
I'm half black, 25% Ecuadorian, 25% Greek.
Right. Did you grow up with both parents or a single parent?
I grew up blessed to grow up with both parents.
Yeah, me too. Me too. It makes a difference.
It does.
It does make a difference.
It does.
People try to downplay that. Oh, but my mom did everything.
I think it's a blessing. Honestly, yeah, absolutely. Again, and they're still together now. They're still married.
Love it. Yep. Love it. So, I mean, during this time, you talked about being in the crack era.
Yep.
Did you get into any issues? Did you ever try to dibble and dabble in that kind of street?
Stay civilian.
Stay civilian.
I didn't want to do, even when I got to XXL, like it had like the success enough to like have protection from my projects or from this neighborhood and have people hold me down. I just never wanted to play that. I never wanted to I respected it too much. There was a journalist era of like, people, I was talking about the 90s when people run up to each other's offices, right? It was a conflict. Try to bum rush you in your office. So cats was having guns in their desk and things like that. And I was just like, I don't want to live that way. Like, it's not what I want my reality to be. So no, I definitely wasn't even embraced enough for that side of it. I kind of kept my real civilian stripes. Sports was my outlet. I thought sports was going to be my thing. So sports kind of gave me a little bit of a balance outside of that stuff. So I was religious about playing baseball every day and little leagues and all that and joining these leagues and playing. I played baseball up until I was about 16 years old. So I thought baseball player was going to be my dream at first.
Didn't work out though.
No. I was good, but I wasn't great.
That Ecuadorian didn't really come out properly.
I think that 50% Ecuadorian.
Yeah, you're only 25%. You know what I'm saying?
That Greek and the black.
Kept you back. The Greek and the black part, we're going to get you through.
Big Poppy.
That's right.
It was short.
Okay. So you go to LaGuardia Community College.
Yes. I saw Reverend Runham went there, and he studied mortuary science.
Mortuary science.
Exactly, crazy, right? And the shit was close to where I lived. So before that was Bryan High School I went to, right? And Bryan High School is actually in the Bronx Tale. They shot Bronx Tale. The scene of him with the sister coming out to school, that's Bryan High School. Actually, all my schools were like right across the street from my project. So I went to 151 elementary school, IS-10 the junior high, and Bryan High School. So yeah, IS-10 actually was the Bronxtown one. But Bryan High School, I went to that school, and that was mostly like the Astoria Greek community. Like the minorities weren't really embraced the same way. It was majority 80% Greek school. So I hated high school. I didn't have no cool moments of high school. Like I would listen to Howard Stern on the radio and come to school late and just try to just get a C to just get out of high school. What community college gave me was like the cool high school experience. I finally learned how to talk to girls and just catch a little rhythm and the whole thing. So I went to community college as just an extensive, like, I don't know what I want to do in my life necessarily, but I want to have some sort of schooling that seems cool, and like college was great for me with that. Like the 2-year degree was great. I got my associate degree of liberal arts, whatever that got me. I met a professor, Peter Fontaine, I think his name was, and that was the first person that told me, like, you know what, you write well. I was like, what do you mean I write well? I was like, I thought most people write well. He's like, no, most people don't really write well. You write well. And I'm like, what do you mean I write well? And it's like, so I at the back of my mind, I was like, well, maybe that's something I could do. I write well. So, and then part of what sports was, I went from being baseball player dreams of like, oh, now I want to be a sports writer or a sports caster. I want to be Howard Cosell or Warner Wolf or those type of guys. So I think all those seeds started planting of maybe I could, my writing or my voice could be heard, and that could be what I do for a living. So.
Okay, so in terms of journalism, you started with a magazine called Beatdown.
Yeah, absolutely.
With Sasha Jenkins and Haji
Akibade.
Yeah, I always mess up that name.
Haji Akibade. Shout out Hodge.
Right.
Big Hodge. And the Haitian sensation, Sasha Jenkins. Yeah.
Right. Sasha's still doing his thing.
Absolutely. Mass Appeal did
Mass Appeal. All the documentaries.
Tremendous, incredible documentary discography.
Mm-hmm.
Great work.
Yep. So then you guys start Ego Trip together.
Yep.
And by the way, I bought Ego Trip's book of rap lists before I became a DJ, and that was just a great book.
Thank you, brother.
Congratulations on that. A lot of people don't know about that, but I love that book.
Thank you, brother.
Yeah.
It's the greatest book of hip hop to me, but.
Okay.
Now, you know
I could probably
but here's what's great about it. It's because it's foreshadowing of the internet, where we like worked hard to get these information and put it in one book. Now you have the Wikipedias and a lot of information is online. This is before that, right? So, you know, like, what is Big Daddy Kane's 5th album, and what is the spelling on all the songs on the album? And like, we would buy all these CDs and create this whole like archive of like content and like put it down on paper. And like, we were so religious about it. So it became me, Sasha Jenkins, me, Elliott Wilson, Chairman Mao, Gabe Alvarez, Brent Rollins. It's 5-man team. And we were just obsessive about hip hop. And we was like, we got to put all the information in one book. And it's kind of a precursor to the internet and the internet culture, you know?
Okay. And then at one point you joined The Source.
Yeah.
What year was that?
96.
96.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Which is always my dream. I wanted to be the music editor of The Source. I saw Reginald C. Dennis was the music editor. He had these sunglasses. It was like, this guy gets all the albums before anybody else. He gives the mics out. Like, that was my one career goal. I want to be this music editor of The Source. I want to get all the albums for everybody else, and I want to give the mics out. Like, what I say matters the most. Like, I want to give the mics out. That was my only career goal.
Okay, so you joined The Source in 96.
Yep.
In 97, Double XL premieres.
Yes.
With Jay-Z on the first cover.
I remember that. And I didn't do that cover. Like, I get credit for that sometimes.
No, yeah.
I was against that. I was battling that.
Yeah, exactly.
He said, I got Double XL money on one of the records in my Lifetime Volume 1. Yeah.
And I remember, I was always like a rap nerd. Mm-hmm. So I was buying every single issue of The Source. And when Double XL came out, I remember at Barnes & Noble, I'm like, oh, what's this? Jay-Z on the cover. Okay, he's just starting out, but they're making him look like a big deal. Like, okay, let me, you fast forward, Jay-Z's the biggest deal ever, but Double XL had the foresight to put him on their first cover.
It was a split with him and Master P.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Master P and Jay-Z. Yeah.
Aha.
Again, artists that weren't being embraced enough by The Source. I remember when Master P was trying to get a Source cover, and one time Dave Mays came to us and he was just like, are we really giving Master P a cover? Like, is he really big like that now? Because he knew Master P from literally himself calling up The Source and booking small ads in the back of the book. So he couldn't accept that, like, Master P was now becoming this mogul and rap artist himself. So Master P and Jay-Z at that time, to me, weren't getting enough embracement from The Source at the time. So that was like the perfect cover for Double XL to do at that time against The Source.
Okay, so you're working at the Source, and you eventually become the music editor. So you actually are giving out the mics.
Yep.
The 5 mics, 4 mics, whatever else.
I'm living my dream. At 25 years old, I got my dream job.
Now, this is after Matty C.
Yeah, Matty was the blueprint with the unsigned hype, too.
Yeah, with unsigned hype and everything else like that.
Yeah.
Now, a situation happens where Dave Mays changed the mic rating for Corrupt and Cannabis without telling you.
Yep.
Up to this point, how was your relationship with Dave Mays?
I don't think Dave ever liked me, but I think he did respect me and my dedication to the job. And what I did that was different at the time when I was music editor is that I didn't do the mic committee meeting stuff. I was like, it's my opinion. I need approval from 2 people, Selwyn Hines, who was the editor-in-chief, and Dave Mays, the publisher. So I would give my shit to Selwyn. Selwyn's approval, he would go over with Dave, and that's what it was. So they never had changed my ratings behind my back without speaking to me first about, hey, we have an issue with this. Maybe we should do this. We'd have a conversation. So we had no fallout, public fallout, until the infamous moment where things went left. But I think Dave didn't like for me that I had ego trip and was still the music editor of the Source. So that built some kind of tension.
Okay.
I don't think he fully realized that I had my own magazine and I was still being music editor of the Source. So that built some sort of tension between us from the beginning.
I mean, why did he change the mic ratings for those 2 albums?
Well, with Corrupt, he was involved with Corrupt's career at that time in whatever capacity. So I remember we had a listening session where Corrupt came to present us the album, which a lot of artists do, right? So he's playing this album, and it sounds pretty good and wall bopping along. And then all of a sudden he plays a record called 5 Mics. And then in the song hook, he's like, 5 mics, dedicated to the Source. 5 mics, dedicated to the Source. And I see Dave's nodding his head, da-da-da. It's like, I was like, oh, I know what this is. Okay, then it's gonna be a problem. And then I got the album, and the album wasn't that great. I think I wanted to give it like 2.5 or 3 mics. And then they changed it to like a 3.5. They didn't even give it like a 4 or 5. So if you think about it, it's kind of crazy. Like, when I look back at my life, it's like I knew on principle, like I was done wrong, and fuck you guys, I quit. But looking back on it, it was a half a mic change. It wasn't even like they gave it 4 mics or 5 mics. It was 3.5. But you couldn't tell me nothing at that time because I'm all young and passionate, and I've been done wrong, and this isn't right. And I knew from jump he was trying to corrupt me with this 5 mics thing, and the listing says. And then Cannabis was the same thing. It's like we had all hyped up Cannabis to be the next big thing. There was the incident with Blaze, with the situation with Wyclef pulling out a gun on people, and it just got crazy. And it was like they were trying to please the industry at that time of like, we can't act like this Cannabis guy's not going to be that one. So I felt like the business was like imploding, and I was like, I feel like these guys are kind of compromised with it, and it's just like I can't be here. Like it kind of like ruined the dream job in my mind of this thing. So my innocence was over, and I quit. And that's funny. I left the office, and they were like, well, did you get fired or did you quit? And I was like, well, I guess I quit. Like, I don't know. Like, you didn't fire me. I just stopped going. Like, I was just like, I can remember, so it was a big showdown where it was like, those old magazines where like the editorial would be on one side and the business side would be on the other side. And I remember calling a meeting, like being mad that they changed the ratings. And then Dave was on the other end of this business side, and he slowly walks to the other side of the thing. And then I basically just said, you don't respect me and blah, blah. And I stormed out. And it was like the real, Jerry Maguire type moment of like, who's coming with me? Da, da, da. I just stormed out. And I vowed to kill him from that day forth.
Okay, because then there was the incident of Benzino's Made Men album.
That was after me. That was
after you left.
Year after me, yeah.
Right, which was a similar kind of thing.
Yeah.
Where they gave Made Men 4.5 mics.
And then Selwyn quit in a storm, just like me. So the same thing happened a year later.
Yeah.
They violated the rules against me, changed it behind the back, and I stormed out in 97.
98.
98.
Yeah.
And then a year later, 99, Selwyn resigned once they did that to him with the Made Men album.
Right. I actually read a little interview.
And that was the beginning of Ray having more control in the magazine. Because Ray was not running around like he was the publisher of the magazine. That's another misconception. Ray was happy being an artist and being an executive. When I was at the Source, he had got a label imprint called Surrender Records that Leor Cohen was backing. He had a whole record label dreams, a record mogul dreams, and was like, he wasn't worried about running the Source magazine. Of course, he had power and influence, but he wasn't active in the day-to-day of the Source magazine. Years later, it became that.
Yeah.
And he's a co-publisher.
Right. Because I remember I read an interview with Selwyn about that situation.
Yep.
Where there was a heated argument over that album getting 4.5 mics.
Yep. In the meeting. Yep.
Yeah.
I heard about that meeting.
And he was like, well, listen, I guess it is what it is. I guess people still bumping that album still, right? 4.5 mics. Like, he kind of still took a shot at Benzino with that. Yeah, Made Men should have gotten 4.5 mics. It is what it is. Clearly, it was an underhanded move because of his position at the source. And a bunch of, Selwyn quit and then other people quit as well, right?
Yeah, that was the beginning.
It was like a walkout,
yeah, Dave and Ray had to assume that, look, we're partners and we're going to take control of this product and this magazine.
Right.
And then from that point on, they did.
Yeah. And ultimately, the source ended up basically going bankrupt. And I remember we interviewed Dave about this. Basically, he took out a bunch of investment money, and he tried to start Source.com. No one knew how to run the internet.
That story.
So they burned through all the money, and then they gave their name as collateral, and then, Londell McMillan ended up buying it and drove it completely into the ground after taking over. And, the Source is, these days, a total non-entity. For the past 15 years, maybe?
Yes. So I love that side of the story. Again, I'm not saying there's not some truth to that. But let's not act like XXL Magazine didn't emerge. XXL brand that I built.
Right.
It took them out. Or whatever way. That's part of it also. Let's not act like that's like its own thing.
No, I got it.
The culture went to my product.
Right.
They were the Bible of hip-hop, and I beat them. It's simple as that.
You quit, but like I had mentioned earlier, XXL was already an entity.
Yes.
From like a year before that.
Yes.
So you quit the Source.
I don't know if they were fully aware entity. It was out there.
Well, they had Jay-Z on the cover. Jay-Z and Master P on the cover, right?
Okay. Yeah, of course.
So I remember I bought that issue.
The truth.
Your name was not on there yet.
No.
But then you show up. So what? You left the Source and go straight to XXL?
No, I finished the book of rap lists. I dedicated myself to leading my team to, help us get this book out. So we did the book and got it done. And then I got a call, shout out to, I don't know if you know John Schechter.
Yeah.
Was the founding editor-in-chief.
Yeah, very well. Yeah.
So I love that era of the Source, the original Mind Squad, right? I idolized all that shit. So Dennis Page, the publisher of XXL, was like, struggling with, these guys were cool that's running this thing, but they can't get the book out on time. They can't up the level of monthliness of like getting it out more often, more issues out. Like the output's not there. Like we have the access to these artists, but we can't get the book out to this level. So he asked John, who's out there that could run this magazine, and Schechter recommended me. So that's when I sat with Dennis Page, and I got the job in like 99, end of 99, and I took over, and I ran it from 99 to 2008.
Okay, when you joined XXL, could you have negotiated like an ownership stake in it? Or was it, because Harris Publishing was a sizable organization, but
it wasn't, here's the thing, it wasn't worth owning. It was not. I remember the first big conversation we had was, we agreed to my salary, and then Dennis Page was like, look, I'll give you another $5K a month if you could get the book out like by this date. Like, can you really get it out monthly? Can you meet these deadlines, right? So he was gonna incentivize me to meet deadlines. And then I was like, okay, this sounds great. I appreciate that. I love this extra $5K a month, but I'd rather it be a bonus of performance of what this sells or whatever. Because my thing is like, I want to have as much time as I can to get a magazine done. Let's say at the last week I could get a bigger cover. I want the flexibility to like get the cover that's gonna sell more than, I can't do it. I reached my deadline and all the files are in, give me my money. It's a conflict that I looked at it. So I stretched that envelope of like what it takes to get it done in time. So they embraced that part of it, and I got results right away. The first issue I did with DMX, which was like the 13th issue they ever did, sold 40%. 40% was the measure of success. If a magazine sold 40%, I got my 5K bonus. And most times with the 5K bonus, I wasn't selfish. I like bought everybody iPods, or bought everybody DVD players, or bought everybody Cristal bottles or whatever back in the day. Like I wanted us to move around like we were number one, even though we were like grossly not selling anything near to the Source. I wanted to build this sort of championship mentality that we have the best magazine. So I would break my people off and live that way.
Well, right around 2000, Eminem had a beef with Double XL.
Well, he already had a beef. I inherited his beef. I tried to resolve it.
Inherited the beef from
They had wrote an article before I got there, like questioning a white person running hip hop, the white MC, the Vanilla Ice shit. So he was offended by that. He was in a good rapport with the Source at the time. So he was anti-Double XL. When I got to Double XL, my first mission was resolve this beef with Eminem, get Eminem on my side, and he wouldn't accept it. So then I did a whole magazine against him in 2000 because he wouldn't embrace me yet. And then he dissed us on the Marshall Mathers album.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Double XL, Double XL.
Yeah, that was a slight. Because the first issue, I did put a nasty illustration that I regret to this day about his mother spanking him or something. So he's talking about that. Go to the back of the magazine, picture my big white ass. He's talking about the exact first. That's my first issue. So he's talking about that. But it's legendary, man. Look, I got this on the title track of Marshall Mathers LP, which is a classic. So.
Yeah, he said, then to top it off, I walked to the newsstand to buy this cheap-ass little magazine with a food stamp, skip to the last page, flip right fast, and what do I see? A big picture of my big white ass. Okay, let me give you motherfuckers some help.
Double XL.
Double XL, Double XL. Now your magazine should have so much trouble to sell. Oh, fuck it, I'll even buy a couple myself.
My first issue. My first issue. And that wasn't even my intent. Was I trolling Eminem? I didn't think I was. I didn't know what I was doing, man. I was out here trying to get it done.
Well, by 2002, 50 Cent started to blow up.
Yeah.
And he was filming his first music video in the club. Well, actually, his second music video. I guess Wankster was the first one. And you guys were there for a magazine photo shoot during in the club, taping.
Yeah, Noah did the interview from Complex, Noah Callahan Bever.
Oh, okay. Yep. Nice. And Suge Knight showed up.
That's what I heard. I wasn't there.
Oh, you weren't there?
I didn't go to the shoots.
Okay.
My ass is back home in New York. It was in Cali, right? Yeah.
Right. Well, but I remember right around that time, it's like Double XL, I feel like, really embraced 50 Cent, Interscope, Eminem. Absolutely. And that's when you start seeing these covers with it was like Dre, 15M on the cover. And
I don't know if you know this, Vlad. 50 Cent doesn't like me. But let's give 50 Cent all the credit in the world. 50 Cent was the reason I was able to finally resolve this conflict I inherited with Eminem and join the situation, because we were supporting him. I remember going to the office and like everybody's pumping these mixtapes and everything. 50's like the hottest guy. And I would always pride myself on like, don't get so caught up in New York shit. Like it's not all about New York. There's a whole world out there. But you couldn't deny his impact. So I remember going to the office and I was like, everybody's pumping 50 Cent mixtapes. So we just started doing these stories on him and just continually putting him in the magazine, continually showing the support. Vanessa Satin, who runs it to this day, built a great rapport with him. So we just kept supporting him. So when he signed with Eminem, we were like, oh shit, is he gonna cut us off? Like, cause we had dealt with this before where it's like, remember Vanessa was dealing with Silk the Shocker and he was super cool. And then I fell out with Master P and then Silk the Shocker basically called us and was just like, I can't fuck with y'all no more. So I was like, is he gonna Silk the Shocker us? It's like 50 gonna say, I can't fuck with y'all. Eminem and those guys don't fuck with you. He ended up being the bridge to help solve the situation, right? And then what happened was Benzino made a record dissing Eminem at the same time. So then I went to have a meeting with Paul Rosenberg to resolve this conflict. Paul Rosenberg, as you know, is Eminem's partner and manager.
Yeah.
Because I wanted the 50 Cent cover, that cover you're talking about. I wanted just 50 Cent in that cover. So we have this whole sit down, this Lure Fish Bar in New York, and Noah's there. And Paul's like, well, how would you like an Eminem, Dr. Dre, 50 Cent cover? And I'm just like, is this guy fucking with me? Like, I would just take 50 Cent. And then he's like, you didn't hear last night? And I was like, what happened last night? He's like, Benzino put out a diss record, Pull Your Skirt Up. And DJ Clue had played it the night before. I hadn't even heard it. I missed it. So I was like, so that's what I inherited. So everything led to having that moment. But if we hadn't supported 50 Cent, it wouldn't have led to it leading to the resolution where I could get Eminem on my side and Paul, we could resolve this. And then Interscope took an adversarial approach against them once they realized Source kept being consistent about dissing them. So then they eventually pulled all the advertising from the Source and gave it to us, which empowered us to go on a run that we began to go on back then,
What is your problem with 50 Cent?
I have no problem with 50 Cent.
What's his problem with you?
I don't know. You have to ask him. I just think we never really got along. Everything was done Drew Vanessa at that time. And I think he doesn't necessarily love that, after the magazine stuff, I did Rap Radar with Paul. He wasn't involved with that. He created This Is 50. I just think it became a thing like that,
I think I remember it was around that time, because I moved to New York in 2002, as a mixtape DJ, and I just threw myself into the culture.
Yeah.
And there started to be the back and forth between Double XL and The Source. And you guys had, like near the back of the magazine, you'd have these drawings. You had a drawing of Benzino with like gray cornrows. And I think he might have had a son also. And he like showed up at the office. There was some sort of confrontation
that was a
or
big
something.
Showdown. Yep, absolutely. Yeah, that was the thing. So, and you know what happened with that issue? That was an issue that was guest edited by 50 Cent. So that idea was 50 Cent's idea. But unlike 50 Cent, I wasn't running around in bulletproof trucks and, had my bulletproof vests and had my guys and everything. So I took the brunt of it. But it was my decision to give 50 Cent the authority to make that idea. So again, I didn't learn my lesson. I did a bad Eminem illustration that led to the Marshall Mathers moment. And then I allowed a bad Benzino illustration. So that was the final thing where it was like, you know what? This has been like this sort of like behind the scenes battle, but we got to face each other. So Benzino and Dave Mays and some other guys came up to the office and we had the big showdown, the big screaming match. And I always say like, thankfully I didn't get hurt. No one got hurt. But Benzino was giving me the business. He sprayed me out. It was like, what I'm saying? When we watch, especially in the 70s, like old baseball games when like the umpire's yelling at the manager.
Yeah.
And it's like so intense and he's like damn near spitting on him and blah, blah, blah. And that's what it was. And what I was worried about was Dave was in the lobby and he kept hitting the elevator like to get out. So it's like, obviously at this point, someone's called the cops. Someone's going to come. So we only have like a real short window of whatever our altercation is going to be. So we're literally like in the reception area. All my staff is over here. Ray's yelling at me. Dave's over here. And then Ray's got two guys that look official. And one guy's looking at me like I'm a steak and he's just waiting for the green light go. And I was just like, this guy's really going to hurt me. This guy right here is really going to hurt me. So eventually, it died down. The yelling just didn't happen. We never had an altercation, thankfully. But yeah, so what happened after that was I said, you know what? I'm going to stop dissing them. Because you got to think about it. From the beginning I took over the magazine, every month I would diss them. I would clown them consistently. I felt like I had to bully them because, what happened to take it full circle. I remember when I was there in Double XL launch, like you said, I felt like they were very threatened by that. They didn't want competition. They didn't want the idea that anybody could be bold enough to say, we could be as good as you. So I felt like even though I'm so small, I got to make them feel like I'm crazy, and I almost have to bully the bully. So I took a very aggressive stance against them. But after the Benzino incident, I was like, I have to change my approach, or else I'm going to get hurt or someone's going to get hurt. Because it's reached that height. So I stopped dissing them, and I was like, I'm just going to prove I'm better than you, and I'm not going to focus on you anymore. Like, you're over, I'm number one, and that led me to finally actually becoming number one. Because back then, I still wasn't number one. I was just running around like I was number one.
Right around that time, around 2003, The Source actually obtained these racist Eminem songs.
That might have been a year later. But
around that time, within a year or so.
Yeah.
And they literally put it out a CD, attached to the magazine.
Yep.
And, that was damaging to Eminem. Eminem kind of went into hiding for a while. Like, he kind of stopped putting out.
He did an XXL cover with us.
Was it right around that same time?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, maybe my timeline's a little wrong. Okay.
No, his career took a hit. It was
career
controversial.
took a hit. Yeah,
a little bit. But I think he cleaned it up nicely. He did a Double XL cover, and at that time continues to deliver great music, so it kind of died down.
Yeah.
But they tried to do this sort of like scandal to sort of like ruin and destroy his career. But at that point, it got so adversarial that they were literally running articles dissing me, dissing anybody associated with that side. So we had blurred this line where we were becoming part of the story, right? We as the magazine entities were becoming part of the conflict in the story. It got crazy.
Well, right around 2004, that's when I started coming by Double XL. My man Bonsu. You guys started to cover my mixtapes. First, the Biggie mixtape.
Yeah, Bonsu Thompson was my music editor.
Yeah, exactly. Mm-hmm. And he first covered the Biggie rap phenomenon, and then he covered the Tupac rap phenomenon. I think he gave it like a really, like mixtape of the year or something like that?
I said earlier to Vlad, let's say it on camera. Congratulations, rap phenomenon. Classic mixtape.
Thank you.
That's where Vlad really hit my radar about what he was doing. Like go listen to it. It's somewhere on YouTube or somewhere. But Rap Phenomenon.
It's on YouTube. It's on eBay.
It's an amazing mixtape that he did
you.
at the height of all these Pac archives and Machiavelli this and bootleg this. Like you kind of really honed in on it and created a great body of work that we appreciated.
Well, shout out to Green Lantern and Dirty Harry. Those were the two other collaborators on that. I was just a third of that.
Absolutely.
But yeah, no, that was a turning point in my career, and having Double XL co-sign it, and at the time that was the biggest hip hop publication, period. was a big thing.
We weren't yet in 04. Really 05 we finally took it. Source was still selling more than us.
Okay, but still it was a big deal.
Absolutely.
And shout out to Justo, rest in peace. He gave Rap Phenomenon Mixtape of the Year as well. So
you won a Mixtape Award.
I won that. Yeah, I won a couple of them. I won Mashup of the Year like a year later for Rock Phenomenon with Rock Raider, rest in peace.
Wow.
So yeah, no, I was deep in the mixtape game, and that was all I was doing. And going to the Double XL and the Source was really part of my regular weekly routine to try to network with media, because I didn't have VladTV back then.
Yeah, of course.
I needed media. Mm-hmm. Shout out to Chuck and All Hip Hop and so forth, and SOHH. They all helped out quite a bit.
Yep.
Well, Double XL continued to get bigger, like you said, became the #1 magazine, the biggest deal in hip hop media.
05, I think, is when we finally was like clearly #1 in the
absolutely.
space. Yeah.
And then in 2008.
Someone's getting fired?
You got fired. Same year I launched
How
Vlad
do you
TV.
fire this guy?
Same year I launched Vlad TV.
Wow. Your celebration?
Yeah, you were on your way out, and I was on my way in.
I passed you the torch.
Yeah,
Vlad,
exactly.
you got this, baby.
I got this. So, were you actually fired?
Yes, I was fired.
For what?
Being dope. No, I got fired. Why they didn't have you don't have to have a reason to fire people, Vlad. I didn't have a reason to be fired. It was in my mind, it was the top of the year, it was January, and I was due another increase. And this is the first year where the hip hop advertising was down. We lost a little bit of money, and we might have lost $1 million or so in the overall books. Like, it's the end of the Sean Johns and the Rockawares. Like, it's the beginning of like that turning point where our advertising base has shifted. And I thought they felt like, you know what? If we clip the big guy and his salary, it looks a lot even. I think they was ready to get it out of my hands. I was very much in control for a long time. I think they wanted to pass it off to Vanessa. They wanted to regain control of their magazine. I always say, star players and organizations eventually always fall out. How could Tom Brady ever lead the Patriots? How could Brett Favre ever lead Green Bay? It's like, it happens time and time again. So I think there was a certain like tension, resentment, and growing apart that was going on. But yeah, it was just brought to me that day that I was going to be terminated. And I was shocked, and they made me some sort of like severance offer, and I laughed at that. And I left the office, and I walked to my lawyer, who wasn't even like a real lawyer. He was like he was a realtor lawyer. He wasn't even like a criminal lawyer or like a work defamation work lawyer. But I was like, he's got to find me another lawyer in that field, and we did that, and I got whatever my severance was. But yeah, it was definitely shocking. It was big on. I remember my favorite memory is that, as you said back then, all we had was like All Hip Hop and SOHH. So I remember becoming the headline story at both those sites. And like back then, behind the scenes people weren't really in the forefront like that. So for me to be like Elliott Wilson fired, it's like All Hip Hop main story, SOH main story. I'm at home drinking some red wine, just drunk and shit, watching this shit. It was just like, wow, like I got to figure out my life. What's going to be next?
Vanessa ended up taking over.
Not at first. I think they gave it to Daechuan, and then Vanessa took over after that.
Oh, yeah, that's my man.
Shout out Daechuan Thomas, yeah. Love Daechuan.
Yeah, he's at Vibe, I think, now.
No, he's actually doing more. He left Vibe. He's doing stuff with Dick Clark. He's doing a lot more stuff in television production, era stuff like that, yeah. So
Vanessa Satin never liked me.
That's that white-on-white crime again.
That's that white-on-white crime.
We got to stop this white-on-white crime, man. It's a real problem we have in hip-hop.
Absolutely ridiculous. And I remember...
We need Trap Lore, somebody to do a documentary about this white-on-white crime. And we got to solve these white-on-white crimes.
And I remember...
Can we solve these white-on-white crimes?
This was maybe 2012. I met with Dennis Page.
Shout out DPG.
And I'm like, look, why don't we do some work together? Like, Vlad TV was becoming...
was established
was established at this point. Double XL was still sort of floundering, couldn't really figure out, because magazine sales kept going down and down and down. Let's just call it what it is, right?
Absolutely.
It's not like it was a booming business.
Absolutely.
And I'm like, hey, maybe we can work out some ways to work together. I'm running it on the video side. You guys are, an important brand. And I remember Vanessa joined the meeting. Just walked in there and just scowled the whole time. Just angry. The angry middle-aged white woman just sitting there scowling. And then whenever he would bring something, she's like, oh, no, we already know how to do that. No, we don't need him for that. Like, literally, she was like hating on me in front of him.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, all right.
Good luck with that magazine.
Good luck with that shit.
Good luck with the
And I remember at one point, and then I think shortly after that, me and Dennis Page were talking about me buying XXL.
Hey.
And I was actually going to buy it. Woo. But his thing was like, well, I forgot what the offer was, but you can't go through the books and you just have to buy it sight unseen. And I'm like, fuck out of here, Dennis. What are you talking about? Like, this is not a real conversation. Don't go through the book.
Get that brown paper bag,
man.
Yeah,
brown paper bag. And then shortly afterwards, it got sold to...
oh, wow. Yeah, I forget the name of the company.
It was like some Spanish media company. And
wow.
Look, these days, XXL is the freshman cover, and honestly, that's it.
Yeah.
Outside the freshman cover, XXL. Notice how Vanessa's not on the media power list.
You know the origin of the freshman cover?
Was it you?
Yeah, absolutely.
Nice.
Because what it was it basically, the sad part is that nobody's good enough to be on the cover by themselves. So let's pick 10 people or 5 people, whatever. It's like, these could be the stars of tomorrow or the people that can make it. So it was a year where it was like Saigon and Papoose and Joel Ortiz, Crooked Eye, Plies, like those were the guys. Lupe is probably the biggest. And we did a cover of like all these guys. And I said, hip hop's leaders in the new school. And, we did that back at the Source back in the day too. So I was like,
oh, okay.
The original idea that came across. So it was like, but the problem was it didn't sell. It was terrible. It didn't sell well at all. It bricked on the newsstand. So I always tell people, it's like, I had to put magazines that sold. Like a lot of people could do cool covers. Like, hey, here's a cover of, the clips in there hanging up upside down, but it didn't sell. Like I had to sell magazines. So that bricked. And then a year later, I didn't do it again. I didn't repeat it because it didn't do well. And then a year after that, when Dejuan took over, Dejuan took it, rebranded it Freshman very brilliantly, and looked at the blog era artists like the Wale's and the Kid Cudis and rebranded it. So it was such a great idea. He took it, rebranded it, and it became now the most. So post my era, that's probably the only successful thing that they did, that existed. But at least my DNA was in it in a certain sense.
Nice.
But yeah.
I mean, I was surprised XXL is still around. Honestly.
Yeah.
I don't know how they keep the lights on.
Respect to that, though. I appreciate that they're still around.
It is what it is.
It is what it is.
But really, any magazine. How does any magazine keep its lights on anymore?
Well, they can't come out monthly anymore. The old formula. So back then, like to juxtapose it, right? For Elliott to be successful, I had to deliver that magazine 10 to 12 times a year. And Dennis was like, maybe this guy can do it. And I proved that I could. Now it's like, it's going to be a brand itself, but then it's probably going to come out quarterly, like 4 times a year.
Yeah.
Maybe bi-monthly, 6 times a year. So it's more about what you can do as a brand, I guess, outside of it. I guess with your website or I guess with your business deals that you have outside of it and the established brand name that it is. But yeah, I don't know what it looks like, but it's still out there.
Well, then you launch Rap Radar, and Paul Rosenberg, who's Eminem's partner, he is a partner in that.
My partner in it, yeah. So what happens is I get fired from XXL, trying to figure out my life, and then Paul, I go to dinner with Paul, and Paul's idea was Paul's idea to do Rap Radar, more so than even me. Paul was like, at the time there were 2 entities making noise, Perez Hilton, which was like before TMZ in terms of your gossip, and Ariana Huffington with the Huffington Post. And this is like classy writing and intelligent opinions. And he saw me as a hybrid of both in that Elliott Wilson wrote these crazy editorials in XXL. Your voice is missing. Let's do a website, some sort of platform where you can get your voice out and document this culture. So I credit Paul a lot. He made me believe at a time where, I'm going through my anxiety, depression type shit of getting fired on a big stage. And he believed in that, and we came up with the name Rap Radar. And we were off and running. Hired B-Dot, Brian Miller, and we just started hitting the ground and just trying to compete in that blog era where there were the Now Rights and the Tudor Boys and all these sort of, blogs that were way ahead of us at the time. But I felt like we're going to bring a certain like journalism or certain polish to what we do and really compete.
Yeah, I mean, VladTV launched around that time also. We launched in 2008, and then the website, I think, launched in 2009. I mean, we recently shut down the news part of the website after like 16 years.
Wow.
Because there just wasn't that much money left in it. Everyone's getting their news off of Instagram.
Yeah.
No one's going back to the websites and everything else like that. And I feel like Rap Radar, the website, never really took off. Is that fair?
I wouldn't say we took off in what sense. I think we disrupted the system. I think our brand.
Right. No, but I'm saying the rapradar.com news site never really got huge.
No. Here's the thing, my whole career. When I was at XXL, I was about numbers. Like, it's got to be the biggest thing. But when I got to the internet, I was like, I'm not doing it about numbers. Like, I'm not going to focus that way. So I don't think we were like the biggest, but I still think we were the best. And that's different.
Okay.
Like, we're in an age now where like everything's about, it has to have the biggest numbers. But like, I don't think my career has been that these last couple of years, this last decade or so. It's like, I've done the quality of the work itself. So I think we impacted the game that our brand name became the sustainable thing. And then it leads to the podcast, which then we're now
and that's what I'm saying. I think the podcast became...
the podcast eclipsed it.
That's what I'm saying.
Yes, absolutely.
That's what I'm saying. I'm not trying to diss the website, but I'm saying that when you look at it, the podcast is what became the big entity, and the website kind of fell by the wayside. That's all I'm saying. The same thing with VladTV. The YouTube channel is what it's known for. Yes, people knew about the VladTV.com news site, but over time, it's not really what we became big for.
Absolutely.
Now, in 2013, you were there when J. Cole and Diddy had a fight?
I didn't see the fight, but I was at that party. I always talk about that's like one of my favorite industry parties I've ever been at. So, yeah, it was just this like insane, like off the record, last minute post VMA party that I didn't know about, and I go there and I see Russell and Hove and B and Diddy and Cassie, and I'm like, oh shit. And because I'm cool with Hove, I could be in that section. And then I see Macklemore. This is the height of Macklemore. So I go to the side of the room to kick it with my guy Macklemore, and that's when all hell broke loose. By the time I come back, I see Kendrick there. He's got his NY hat from 40 Ounce Van, and everybody's laughing and having a good time. And I'm just like, well, who had a fight? Like, what was it? I see broken glass. Like, what happened? And that's, again, it was the night of the little dust up between Puffy and Cole. But then I try to leave that party. Drake comes with his crew, then Rihanna comes, and I'm caught in that. And then I end up ending the night talking to Justin Timberlake, and he's gassing me up, telling me he's going to give me an interview, and it never happened. But he was incredibly charming.
It happens to the best of us. You know how many interviews I've been promised that have never come through? Hundreds. Okay, and then by 2017, you were named the editorial director of culture and content at Tidal.
Yes, indeed.
Because Jay-Z had launched Tidal.
Yep. Well, years before that, but I finally joined the team. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yep.
And then you had the Crown series, which you would actually do interviews in front of an actual crowd.
Mm-hmm. Live interview series. Yep.
Yes.
It was streamed too back then.
Right. And
I was streaming.
Around that time, 2017, that's when you did the Jay-Z interview, the black and white.
That was rap. So I had Crown, live interview series. I had Rap Radar podcast and did Jay-Z. And then I had also Car Test, which was debuting the albums in the car. So I have 3 different content series out of Tidal, as I was also programming the hip-hop playlisting and R&B playlisting. But Jay-Z was huge for us, like finally getting to do the interview. Black and white joint, we was in Malibu. Yeah. It was a classic interview.
I mean, listen, a Jay-Z interview, that's what we all aspired to, right? We all aspired to.
That is the standard, right? Yeah.
Oh, of course, man. A one-on-one interview with Jay-Z, yeah. How hard was it to put that together? I know you and Jay-Z had a relationship, but Jay-Z just doesn't do interviews.
Hard, incredibly hard. What finally inspired him to do it? I think 444 had been out enough time where I felt like he was ready to also want to talk about it. As I say to artists today, it's like, I get that you think you're saying everything you want to say through your music, right? Like I did my album, it's all there for my fans, and go through the lyrics and understand me. And you can go to Genius and you go wherever and see the lyrics and understand. I don't got to talk about it, but I do think that it's important for artists to, again, find a trusted source and sort of contextualize what you put out there, because you got to deal with people's reaction to what you're doing in art. So I felt like he finally wanted to really talk about 444 in a real way. That's how I look at it. And it was months after the record was already out. So we finally got him to do it. I think it was great. And I think that's the thing too, is I think that we don't get credit for it. A lot of times me and B-Dot was working hard to get these big interviews like him and Drake and Nipsey Hussle and these type of big, but then you got to deliver, right? Like it's showtime, right? You don't get credit for that. It's like, you can't say we didn't deliver. Like the content's great. So to get this thing where you work so hard for it, it takes years to get done. And then to finally get that person to sit in your platform, you got to deliver, and I think we've done that with our big interviews, which has helped my career immensely.
Well, yeah. Because in 2019, you did the Drake interview at his house in Toronto.
Yep.
Which, a lot of people consider this to be one of his best interviews, if not his best interview. But what was interesting about that interview is that it came out on his YouTube channel.
Yes. Well, his YouTube channel and Tidal, but Tidal was a lot smaller than his YouTube channel, but we co-launched together at the same time. But yeah, most people probably went to his YouTube channel to watch it, to consume it.
I mean, that to me would be kind of a, like, I don't know if I would do it.
That's like a kid monetize.
Yeah, well, listen, you got the Drake interview, but then again, I guess you're working for Tidal, so I mean, you're getting paid for it in your own way.
Absolutely.
But
I'm earning my job there.
But still, if I had a Drake interview, it would be on my channel.
But I don't think you can get a Drake interview if you're just going to solely put it on your channel. That's part of the negotiation.
So in the negotiation was, I'll do it, but it'll be on my channel.
We'll launch it on your channel and Tidal at the same time. Is the negotiation.
But I mean, like, the amount of money that interview makes for Drake is such a small piece of his net worth. Like it's almost nothing. Like
it's about power and control.
Okay,
right?
so he wanted to control it.
All the big ones want to do it. It's a collaboration. His people shot it. So let me give you the whole story. Let's address the elephant in the room. We dealt with his production company. They shot it. We showed up and delivered, right?
Okay.
So then it's like it's all negotiation. So we're gonna mutually agree upon what comes out, right? Like you have final edit approval, right? Cause you shot it. His guy Theo, shout out Theo, amazing photographer, director, cinematographer, whatever you call him. He's incredibly talented. They got their big boy cameras. Like the production level is probably what I couldn't even afford with Tidal at that time. So we walk into his house and it's set up. Right? So, but we still, again, that got to deliver. So the funny thing is, okay, we do this interview, and I remember the biggest thing was, I'm in my mind checking the boxes. Okay, we got to talk about Kanye, Pusha. Like, I see all the pull quotes. I see, we got to get out of this house. Like, we got to get out of here. Like, we got the interview. And then B-Dot's just keep firing questions. Like, B-Dot's like, we got Drake. He's just shooting. And I got to pee. I never had to pee so bad in my life. I was like, I have to pee. We've done 2 hours straight. I got to pee. And then finally, we end the interview, and I'm just like, it's like a bank robbery. I just want to get out, like, because I don't want him having like cold feet of like, I may have said too much, I may have whatever. So I'm hesitant that like now he's gonna think that he gave too much with the interview, right? And want to make changes. So again, he has final approval. So he looks at the thing, whatever, Drew Theo, whatever. Theo sends us the file, and I'm just like, okay, oh fuck, look, I'm worried. Like the file, I get the file, and the file's like over 2 hours, and I'm like, wait, did you send me the real file? Is this the approved final file? They're like, yeah. It's like, oh, I have no changes. Because if you give me 2 hours, then
it's all there.
He didn't take out any of the juicy shit. He wanted to get his shit off. He took out shit that was like minute, that didn't matter to the thing. I think I had talked about his Sirius XM deal, which wasn't official yet. So he clipped that out. All the juice you want was still there. So again, it's a collaboration, right? So you have to collaborate with these people at this point. If I'm gonna get a Beyonce interview, a Jay interview, a Rihanna interview, and these type of people, God bless, one day it may happen. It's got to be collaborative. It's got to be a partnership where we agree to terms. So yeah, my own caveat was, obviously my Tidal audience doesn't match your YouTube, but for the optics, we got to put it on both things at the exact same time, and that's what we did. So they honored it that way. And to me, it helped us more because we needed that exposure to the bigger audience, which was his YouTube audience at that time. So yeah, would I have loved to monetize off that? Yes, I would have, but...
It got 20 million views.
Yeah, how much is that, Vlad? I don't even know how YouTube people work. Shannon Sharp said his Cat Williams got him more money than
that's not
XYZ.
True. That's not true. Yeah,
it's cap. That's cap.
Let me see.
You make 2 million off 20 million? 1 million?
No, maybe
800,000.
A few 100,000. Maybe 200,000.
300,000.
Maybe two. I mean, because it's long form, so you can put a lot of ads in there.
Got you.
Yeah, maybe 300,000.
Okay.
Yeah, when Shannon Sharp, like, because I really went hard in my interviews when Shannon Sharp claimed that he made more money from that one interview than his whole football career, any year in his football career.
That's what I'm asking. You say that's cap?
No, it's bullshit. Absolute bullshit. It's a lie. And the problem with throwing these kind of lies out into the world...
The kids believe it. They believe it.
They believe it. So, recently, and I've talked about this, with Ari Spears, we reached out to Marlon Wayans to do an interview, right? They came back with $40,000 plus 30% of the revenue. And I'm like, this is retarded. Like I had to like talk shit to him. Like me and him got into a whole like back and forth. Like I'm like, no one in the world is going to pay you this, Marlon Wayans. I don't know if you're drinking this Kool-Aid that Shannon Sharp is pouring out to the world. No one's going to pay you for this. There's not a single human being on earth that will pay you $40,000, much less an extra 30% on top of it. Like you're insane. You're absolutely insane to think this. And that's the problem when you throw out these crazy numbers. They're like, well, I'm almost as big as Cat Williams. I guess if he got $1 million, 40,000 is fair.
Jay has an underrated line on one of the songs we did with Drake. he said something about people know the price of everything, but the value of nothing.
Exactly.
The kids don't even understand. Anything sounds real to them.
Yeah.
Yeah. Vlad made $17 million last night doing this. Like they don't know. They know what everything is and the money. They have no real context with things, right? Like, what's the most Marlon Wayans ever got paid to even do an interview? If you ever got paid to do an interview, let alone 40. How do you land on that number? Like, it's just it's crazy. Yeah.
Meanwhile, he's doing interviews for free
on his radio run, every morning show.
On Drink Champs, on Big Boy, on Breakfast Club, but I get charged $40,000. Like, you know what I mean? It's dumb. And I remember, so I remember when you were on Drink Champs, you had mentioned, my relationship with Tony Yayo, and you said how Tony Yayo gets paid to do my interviews, which is absolutely true, 100%.
You said that you boozy, like you had to hire certain people to,
all my regular guests get paid.
Exactly.
People you see all the time, as well as certain other guests and everything else like that. And you said you've never paid anyone. And that's cool.
I haven't. But I'm not looking down on somebody that does. If it's fair business, it's fair business.
Listen, and I remember, me and Robin from Baller Alert, she basically said that I fucked up the game by doing that. Because I think I was the first person, at least in hip hop, to say, I'm going to start paying for interviews. Before then, it was a big no-no, journalistic integrity, whatever. I was the first person to do it. But at the end of the day, you have to look at it as a business, right?
Same thing what I'm saying with, if you do a Drake, it's a collaboration with Drake.
It's everything. You're not just going
to get a Drake and everything goes in your way. Yes.
Have other people gotten Boosie interviews for free? I'm sure they have.
Yeah.
Has anyone done more interviews with Boosie than me? No, because I pay him.
Yes. But Boosie delivers too.
And he delivers.
Yayo delivers.
Right.
Somebody was saying I watch every Tony Yayo interview.
So you may have gotten that one Boosie interview and you got to keep 100% of the profit. In the meantime, I've done 30 interviews with Boosie and made 50 times what you made. You know what I mean? And also he got paid in the process. So everyone's happy. Yeah. And you have a certain level, people are much more likely not to cancel when they know there's a check. Yeah.
There was an old journalism thing where you can't do it. I think the first one I had dealt with that was Nicki Minaj when I did The Crown. And she wanted the first Crown I did with her, like 2017, around the same time. And she wanted final approval. And I would never give nobody final approval, but it's Nicki Minaj. So, and my also thing was too, is like, I'm already getting the live experience with you where you can't edit that. Like whatever happened live, that audience that paid money to watch that. And then I remember I gave her the thing video, she had no changes. So I'm like, great, made me feel good. Like, so at a certain point you realize now with these stars at a certain level or people that you're strategically working with because you know they're great interviews and they're going to deliver you the views that you want.
You have to be flexible.
You got to do business.
You got to be flexible and it has to make business sense.
Absolutely.
Would I pay Marlon Wayans $40,000 for an interview? Absolutely fucking not.
Yo, Marlon, I'm sorry, baby. I love you. I saw him the other day.
Hey, man, listen, it is what it is. I actually gave him a reasonable offer and he was like, no thanks. I'm like, oh, okay, you really wanted that 40. Because first he's trying to blame it on the person that we were dealing with. And I'm like, I'm talking to you right now.
15? You offered 15?
I offered him 5. He said no thanks.
That is tough, man.
Well, 5, but you know what I said? But here's the way I justified it. I said, Marlon, when you look at your last year of interviews on Breakfast Club, Big Boy, whatever.
You pull the views out on them?
You pull in about 300,000 views. Now, I know with me, I could pull out a little more than that based on who I am. And the way I conduct things, but you're not Cat Williams. You're not going to pull in 10 million views where you have a lot of interviews and the numbers speak for themselves. Yes, you have a few interviews years ago that are a little bit bigger, but you pull in about 300,000 views. So 5,000 is actually generous. You know what I'm saying? And you can't say, oh, it's this or that. Like, when I did Breakfast Club, I did more than twice the numbers that you did.
Wow.
Me. No movies, no stand-ups, whatever. I'll do like 800,000 on the Breakfast Club.
Wow.
So I know what I'm talking about here.
Yeah.
I'm giving you a reasonable offer.
Yeah.
You feel your head's in the clouds. You don't know how this works. So I'm gonna turn this into content. You know what I'm saying? Don't fuck with me. Like I don't get even. I turn it into content. That's how I look at shit. Like if you want to give me a viral moment, I'll take it. I'll take it because you're bugging right now. You're absolutely bugging. 40,000 plus 30%.
30% is crazy.
Plus 30%.
That's why I act like they're gonna pay for it.
I've never had anyone. Now listen, like I remember, I did an interview with 2 Chainz, and the understanding was they had sampled something from my interview to use on their album. And there was
VladTV.
That song VladTV, but I didn't hear it yet. after the interview, they played it for me, and I'm like, oh, this just is sort of clowning me. Like the way they're using it is making me sound bad, so I'm good. I'm not going to clear it, and I'm just going to put the interview aside. Then at one point, I said, you know something? We still have this interview. How about if I just cut you a check to do the interview? And they're like, well, we don't want the check, but we'll take 50% of the revenue from the interview. And I said, that's actually a very fair offer, but we're not set up on the finance side of things to do that.
For a specific interview.
For a specific interview.
Mm-hmm.
We just don't have the manpower to be cutting these checks. So it's a fair offer. I'm not saying it's not, but we just can't do it. But 40,000 plus 30%? It's fucking insane. It's fucking insane. It's a detachment from reality. Marlon, I know you're going to see this. I'm going to send it to you. I got your number.
He has an amazing publicist, too. Shout out to her.
Now, most recently, the Kendrick Lamar and Drake beef.
Oh, yeah.
You have your little role.
My little role.
In the middle of all this. You know what I'm saying?
Elliott's trying to get attention again.
So, originally, Kendrick filed a copyright strike against you?
That happened too. Yeah, okay. Yep.
So I guess you would edit out Kendrick's verse about Drake having a secret daughter.
I didn't. I asked somebody to edit it. Yeah. So, well, you want to do the Drake? You want to do the timeline, right? Drake,
yeah.
The rat emoji from Drake comes first. So, again, this battle's happening after the whole Bobby, Yachty, Elliott, the youth took over Big Dog. Me and Drake quietly are getting back on good terms, right? And talking behind the scenes a little bit, or texting behind the scenes, and he's following me on IG, and we seem like we're in a better place again. Then this battle breaks out. I sort of been like covering it, but I've been pretty neutral, I thought, in terms of how I was covering it. I obviously wanted Drake to win. Drake is more my favorite than Kendrick was. I think they're both great, but I definitely stand on the Drake above Kendrick, at least before that. And the hype before when he dropped that 616 in LA is that the rumor was Drake's gonna drop a record that night to respond to it. So I texted him or DM'd him on IG, and I was like, yo, you drop it tonight or something like that? Like really innocent, whatever. And this is like, and he's like, yeah, you know, something, LOL, LOL. And then he just sends me a rat emoji. And I'm just like, that's jarring and shit. It's like Godfather fucking horse in the bed type shit. I was like, what the fuck is, no one's ever sent me a negative emoji, like a fucking rat. So I'm like, I did the 50 Cent. Like I said, what the fuck you say fuck me for? Like, what did I do? And then he stopped talking to me. And then he does the Family Matters thing, and he thinks it's the kill shot. He does that whole Denzel thing about, I'm gonna kill you guys. I'm only regret is I can only do it one time. And then he drops the Family Matters record. And then Kendrick comes to Meet the Grams and steps on that moment. So yeah, with Meet the Grams, I was like, okay, everybody's saying how great this is because it's very much like countering what Drake said, but none of us are believing necessarily that he has a daughter, right? The greatest of the battle to me is that all the accusation stuff never really fully landed, right? I don't think people think Drake is a pedophile.
Yeah.
I don't think that people think that Dave Free's the father of Kendrick's child,
right.
Or like all these things that they were shooting out. That's not why the battle was won or lost. Like, so my point with that was like, let's say the whole secret daughter thing isn't true. Like, I wonder if we would have loved that song the same way if we didn't have that verse about the daughter. Just as like a rap nerd, like a mixtape, whatever, like, so I go on YouTube all the time. Like I try to find the acapellas, like the DJ mentality, like how would it sound with this beat? So it's just more of an artistic thing of like, I would love to hear this song without that verse and realize if it hits as well as it did with the hype of Secret Daughter. So I said it on Twitter just to the public. So of course we're in this era where, as we said, technology, and anybody could chop it up and make that. So somebody made a mix of that. I put it up, and then I got flagged by, I guess, Kendrick or his team because I'm tearing up their art of changing the art, or it looks like I'm siding with Drake with that, or whatever the interpretation was. I was immediately flagged, and it was taken down at that time, yes.
Okay. And then you show up to the Not Like Us.
In Compton. I went to Compton, Vlad.
Yes.
Pulled up in Compton, baby.
And what did Kendrick say to you?
Well, I see him doing a Not Like Us video, the final scene. I find out the Compton City courthouse is where they're going to shoot it. I get there early, and then right away, Dave Free's the director. I see Dave Free, and Dave Free's looking at me like, I'm like, oh, shit. But I said, my nigga Dave Free, like the way Drake said it. I was like, Dave, please don't kick me out, man. I just want to see the video, hip-hop history. So it's like, oh, okay, Elliott, da-da-da. He's like, you know, you ain't, you know, da-da-da, like, you know, whatever, da-da-da. Like, he kind of dismisses me, like, just play the back and just chill. Okay, cool. And then right before they're about to shoot, Kendrick's about to actually come out, Dave pulls me again to the side. And we have more of a longer talk. And he's like, look, you never really chose to side with this, but, you know, you're in Compton. You know, I can't vouch for your safety here. I can't, da-da-da, like this type of stuff. And, you know, and da-da-da. And it's just like, you know, if you're going to be here, like, again, stay low. Don't be making it about you. Da-da-da-da. So I try my best to just, like, play the back. People come up to me, try to get photos at times. I'm like, I can't do no photos. Dave said I have to be low. Like, I'm just trying to, like, play the back. But again, I'm light-skinned, curly-haired, 53-year-old man. Like, I'm in Compton City Courthouse. Like, I kind of stand out. So I'm doing my best to play low. So Kendrick finally comes out. I see Kendrick. Kendrick's doing his, like, final scene in the video where he's behind the bikers and the whole setup. And YG's there, Roddy Ricch is there, Muss is there. He's doing it back and forth. And then finally he sees me, and he waves over at me, and I come over to say hi to him, and I say what's up and pull him in. And we do our exchange, and he goes, "You're a rat." He whispers in my ear, "You're a rat." So I start laughing, I pull back, but then he looking real serious, like he's not even laughing in the moment. And then he just walks off and just daps somebody else, blah, blah, blah. I was like, okay, it's time for me to go. So I took my leave, I walked down the stairs of the thing, I called the Uber, and Elliott left Compton. But yeah, what does that mean? Like, is that just a nod to what Drake said or whatever? Like, it just shows these guys are in tune, and like, it's weird because I have so much history with both of them, and like, them to have this sort of like unofficial rivalry in some sense of them not battling, but obviously a decade of tension between both of them to finally have this battle. Yeah, I feel like I'm somewhat in it because I documented it from the beginning. I remember the King Kunta, people found a thing where it's like, when he did King Kunta, he was at Summer Jam, High 97 Summer Jam in 05, and when he had the King Kunta rhyme like a rapper with a Ghost Rider, what the fuck happened? He saw me in the crowd, he goes, "Elliott, rapper with a Ghost Rider, what the fuck happened?" Like, cause he knows I'm cool with Drake. He was like, so I've been sort of in the middle of their tension for years. So yes, in this battle, I'm Elliott Wilson. I got put in that position in some sense, you know? It's interesting.
So both Drake and Kendrick
called me a rat.
Called you rat.
Yes.
Okay.
Sammy the Bull up in this piece. I don't even know what's going on.
Okay, but were you leaking information to either one
I
of
had
them?
no information to leak. As my guy DJ Head says, like, I'm not cool with nobody like that. Obviously, it wasn't even as cool as I once was with Drake's camp. I didn't know what he was doing. I've never had an insight into Kendrick's camp. I mean, I have cool rapport with him and Dave Free, and Anthony Soleil's now involved. And if I hit Top Dog directly, he'd be with something. But no one's talking to Elliott talking about, hey, I'm strategizing this. Maybe we should. I was consuming the battle like everybody else as a fan. And I loved every record that came out until The Hard Part 6. Drake sounded defeated and irritated and frustrated.
I didn't like that song. Yeah.
I didn't like that song. And I was like, and the public said, hey, Kendrick's the winner. And everything's been crazy since then. It's like the public decides now in this era. Like, it's just like, you know, but no, I didn't know. I had no real insight into anyone's moves. And I'm glad I didn't. I wanted to experience the records like everybody else. Like, and I did that just as any other fan would. I didn't know what was going to happen when it happened.
Well, you said that the Drake-Kendrick battle is the greatest battle of all time in hip-hop.
I believe that, yes.
And I see what you mean by it because, I mean, obviously people are going to say Tupac and Biggie, but Biggie never really responded.
Yeah.
It was one-sided.
No subliminals. Biggie
subliminals, but not a full-blown.
Biggie never claimed any of his records towards him, yeah.
I mean, Ice Cube versus NWA. NWA had a few little things, but, you know, No Vaseline was thorough, but there was no real response to No Vaseline. Once No Vaseline dropped, crickets.
Yeah. Well, NWA kind of was over by that point.
Yes, yeah, NWA was over. Yeah. But even, like, I remember when I interviewed DJ Yella, he said when they all heard it, they were all like, God damn. Like, we can't come back from this one. Like, yeah. And, I mean, at this point.
I mean, Jay and Nas was amazing.
Jay and Nas, yeah. I mean.
But you never had as much. The thing is,
there's way more hype. There's way more music.
Yeah, yeah. And the thing
there's
is, like,
social media.
Yeah, you
there's
can be
music
critical
videos.
That this era, if you don't think the last, you know, it's the older guard. Like, you're not going to respect as much the modern day face of hip hop. But literally, you have two guys who've been the main dominant figures of hip hop in the last 15 years, who've had over a decade-long tension between each other, finally engaging, and gave us a lot of records in this modern era where also social media happens and all these different things they did. Like, it never had nothing like that to this level. No, I just think you can't touch that. It's amazing.
Well, yeah, you said,
and we're still feeling it. It's never over. Like,
we're still talking about it.
Yeah.
You said that Drake tried a little bro Kendrick like he did with A$AP Rocky, J. Cole, and Meek Mill.
Yeah, I think if you think about it, he never really directly went at Kendrick or took him seriously. Like, you think he has a problem with viewing him as his true rival, if somebody could even be better than him, because Drake's given us so much more music than Kendrick has.
True.
So I think that he has a certain arrogance and confidence that, like, I get how you think he's like this cool artsy thing that's dope and he makes these classic albums, but I'm the hit maker. I'm the machine. I've given you all this shit. I'm the leader of the culture. And I think he underestimated his opponent. It's the constant thing we see in sports. It's like, you can't ever underestimate your opponent. And he turned everything about his output towards them as a 20v1. Like, I got smoke for Metro. I got smoke for Weeknd. I got smoke for A$AP Rocky. It's like, but when are you going to center on Kendrick? And why are you better than Kendrick? He never gave us that, to me. Where Kendrick got directly on Drake throughout the whole thing.
I've been saying this for years and years. I feel like Drake makes better songs, but Kendrick is more creative.
Well, he showed that. He showed that.
The creativity that Kendrick has, Drake doesn't have. But the ability to make great songs, club bangers.
That's why it's such a great battle. They're such geniuses in different ways.
Exactly.
Like, his styles make fights, right? Like, they're both great. I said my hot take is that they're my top 3 all time now is Jay-Z, Drake, and Kendrick. Like, to me, all time. And I think that's where I stand with it. Like, I think it elevated the culture and everything, and it's interesting to see what happens. But I hate to see Drake make the moves he's making post-battle. I don't like the songs he's put out since then. I don't like this, you're gonna make a record with Party Next Door now. Like, why play into this idea that you're just like the melody man? And you're like I think I'm uncomfortable with that Drake's not getting the credit he deserves in his place in hip hop. And I think he honestly doesn't really know how to maneuver yet right now post this battle. And it's very interesting to watch.
Wait, and you said that you don't think that Drake and Kendrick will ever be cool.
I don't think they ever were cool once Control Verse came out. I think it changed after Control Verse. I think that was the thing. That was the quad shooting. That was the thing where these guys could never gonna be friends again, right? Think about Biggie and Pac. They never were friends again after quad shooting.
Yeah, but they weren't given the time.
Huh?
They weren't given the time to work it out. Right?
I don't think
quad shooting happened. Pac goes to jail. He gets out, joins death row, and a few months later he's dead. Right? There wasn't a long period of time. Think about it. If they were in their 50s, I think they would have became cool. That's what I think.
I think Drake. I think they can't. Again, I think it still comes down to the little bro dynamic. Would Drake embrace Kendrick and be cool with him again? I think he would. Does Kendrick want to embrace Drake and be cool with him? I don't think he does. As simple as that. Would Charlamagne like to sit down with Elliott? I think he would. Does Elliott want to sit down with Charlamagne? Right now, I don't. Will that change? It's doubtful. I look at both things the same way.
Okay.
So, I don't think Kendrick wants it. I think Kendrick does a masterful job of I see that. I also take that from, again, go back to Charlamagne, his Big Sean interview and all the interaction with Big Sean, talk about Kendrick said this to me behind the scenes. It's like, I think Kendrick plays nice, but I think he's a killer and he wants to be number one. And I don't think he's outwardly going to be friends with anybody in that way unless it's like his crew or his people's. Like, I don't see him being like that person who's this like gracious person. Like, Drake wants to be the charming leader of everybody type thing, right? A little bit. I'm going to embrace all these guys. I'm your guy. Kendrick doesn't want to be that. Kendrick is a leader in his own. It also, to me, it's the Jay-Z Nas thing. I always say, like, Jay in his height was the guy at the club still. He wanted to be the guy, I run hip hop. I'm here every day. Where Nas would dip in and out. But does Nas think he's still greater? Yes. So I look at Kendrick like a Nas character where you're not going to really see him want to be buddy with these other artists per se.
I agree.
You know? But so that's why it's so powerful with the pop out to see him embrace everybody and play that role of like, and I think he has genuine love for all these guys.
But it was all West Coast guys.
Yeah, exactly.
There were no Canadians on that stage. I'm just saying.
Yeah, and I think we underestimated how much love and respect Kendrick has from California and how everybody views him as like, he doesn't have to be the street dude himself to get that level of respect from all the street dudes. I think that was underestimated also, and it showed itself, you know?
Well, did you see my interview with Marcellus Wiley?
Mm-mm.
Well, in my interview with Marcellus Wiley, he had hinted on this years ago, but he had Drake, and he finally revealed it on my show. Drake came to his show at ESPN.
Oh yeah, and
trashed Kendrick.
Yeah, I didn't know the level he said something, but said negative. So
after the interview, they came back and said, "You got to take this out, and if you don't, Drake is not going to host the ESPYs."
Drake is doing our show, Max and myself, Max Kellerman and myself, Sports Nation, big hip hop fans, both of us, because we're hip hop fans. / he's hosting the ESPYs that year. Now, we always did our show live, always. Studio audience, all this stuff. That day, I don't know why, we had to tape it. So it's like 11:30. Our show aired at like 1:30 or something, 2 hours before the show. And so we taping the interview with Drake. We get there early, we do it. Now, Max and I, so hip-hop, we just go in there. Like, we not got the standard questions. He like, damn, okay. And it turned into him going at Kendrick Lamar. And really going at Kendrick Lamar, saying, man, come on, man. I'm me and he's him. And all like, he just sunning him. And Max and I, while we doing an interview, you know, we see full shot of Drake. We hitting each other elbow like, this motherfucker going in. We like, and he just kept talking trash about Kendrick. I don't know what he was saying, because I got hit in the head a few times. And
do you remember any of the details?
Kendrick's not as good as him. They got the video somewhere, so I wish they just let the shit go, because it's out there, but they probably burned them like the Spygate tapes or some shit like. But it's out there. He was saying basically him, Kendrick here, stop comparing me to the guy. So he's hosting SBs and he's flexing. Interview over, 10, 15 minutes, I don't know. Max and I are sitting there like, our lives about to change in 2 hours, because, I mean, for hip-hop kids to be in the middle of a beef that they ain't a part of, like, I was like, yo, we got the exclusive. It's going down. 12 o'clock comes. You can see everybody moving different in the studio, whatever. 12:15, producers call us up. That interview you guys did with Drake, was anything bad, wrong? What was that about? And I was like, he went in on his rival. He went in on Kendrick. And I'm from Compton, so I'm like, he went on my guy, right? So I'm laughing. 12:30, 12:45, another meeting. Yeah, Drake's people called and said, we shouldn't air that. Are you guys sure everything was fine? I was like, everything's good. Actually, it's great. He went in on somebody that's going to give us huge boost, ratings, people going to watch, etc. 1 o'clock, they was like, we're not airing the interview.
Wow,
so
that's
they
crazy.
actually buried that whole interview. But I'm sure Kendrick knew about it.
Of course.
You know what I'm saying? Like, word travels. So,
of course.
A lot of stuff, like, happens behind the scenes.
Yes.
For the public not to see, but everyone knows what really happened.
Absolutely.
So, yeah.
Absolutely.
Well, your wife wrote an essay for the New York Times about Diddy. Tell me about what happened.
It's not my place to tell what happened. She wrote a story.
Okay.
It's her place to speak on it. But yeah, I support my wife, man.
Right.
She's telling her truth. Like, she went through an experience. She shared it. She has the right to tell her story. I'm her partner. I love and support her.
Were you married to her at the time?
I was not married to her at the time.
Okay. So according to this article, to this essay actually, she was the editor-in-chief of Vibe. And she did a cover shoot for Diddy. And he wanted to see it ahead of time.
Yep.
But Vibe had a policy not to do that. So he threatened to kill her or have her killed. At one point, Diddy showed up.
She dealt with that in real time.
Yes. Diddy showed up with an entourage, and security had to actually escort her to safety. Then at one point, the servers were stolen from Vibe, and she thinks that Diddy was behind that. Am I missing anything in the story?
No. Again, we talked about earlier that people would do threatening tactics of going up to offices.
Yeah.
And trying to embarrass you or trying to gain control of the situation. So what she's speaking to in that thing is her place in media as a woman and the thing that women in this industry have to go through. And things that she may not have processed in real time that she's processing now and wants to tell that story. And again, my position is very simply, that's my wife. I love her. I support her, telling her truth.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of wild. I mean...
And it's wild now that, look at the accusations,
exactly.
even with you with the Keefy D. It's like, well, we were threatening. We come from an era where people would be threatened. It's just like, well, we almost didn't look at the danger involved with a lot of things back then because we're also like passionate about what we're doing, right? Like we didn't realize the real life ramifications of a lot of things. Speaking outside of her, just coming to me, like I've been threatened. We've all been threatened, right?
Yeah.
We've been in these dangerous situations.
Yeah.
Like this stuff is real, right? Like we always say some of it's fake and posturing. It's like wrestling, but you can really get hurt. To survive in this business, all of us, you have to have thick skin. You have to move smart. We've all had our dust-ups and our incidents behind the scenes. Some we want to share with the world publicly. But, we all here to defend ourselves in it, and it's like, it's crazy that some of it is still unresolved, right? To this day. As your Keefy D thing proves, right?
Yeah.
And maybe we'll get whatever justice looks like in 2024. But I think it's very interesting that a lot of it at the time, we didn't realize how actually traumatic this stuff was. I think we were also gung-ho in our jobs of getting things done, and that's all that mattered.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's not all that surprising because remember, there was a situation over the Nas Hate Me Now video shoot where, Diddy wanted to remove the Jesus Christ scene from the music video, and he told Steve Stout to remove it. The video comes out, he shows up to Steve Stout's office and beats him with a champagne bottle. So Diddy has a history of overreacting and doing a bunch of crazy, insane type things. When I interviewed Roger Bonds, he got into stories, not only all the beatings of Cassie, but also Diddy's private chef. She upset him because she wouldn't let someone in, and he threw her out the fucking door like Will Smith, in Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. And, he beat up his assistant, and there's just a long history of violent acts that really aren't warranted.
Mm-hmm.
Really, you're going to go through all that over a cover? You did the cover. You know what's on there. They're not putting a dildo in your hand. You know what I'm saying? You do that on your spare time.
Man, I didn't even see it coming, Vlad. That was smooth,
I just
man.
came up with it on the spot.
Vlad is smooth with that. I didn't see it.
Yeah, no, I'm just saying.
You set me up, baby. I didn't even see it.
So your wife and Diddy never worked this out? There was never a conversation to squash it or clear it up or nothing?
Well, as she says in a piece, she continued to do business years later with the person. Yeah, amicable. You manage these relationships, Yeah. It doesn't take away how she feels about these things now when she looks back at her life and her career. And she should tell her truth.
Yep. Well, that's what it is, man. Elliott Wilson. We've been talking about doing this for a long time, man.
We got
for a long time.
Did a little cradle to the grave. We got some complex in there. We did,
man. And look,
you're a master, Vlad.
I've always respected what you do.
Thank you, bro.
And I've seen interviews where you've always spoken respectfully about me as well.
Of course, absolutely.
And I think that this is how media should work with each other.
Yeah.
We should respect what each other, what we all do. We're all going to do it a little bit differently.
Yeah.
The way, I remember I did Danza Project, and they're like, what advice would you give to an upcoming media outlet? And I said, you have to lean into who you really are.
Exactly.
You can't sit there and make everyone happy and play the middle ground and be nice in every interview. Because, when I got into hip-hop media, the way I felt was most of it was lame.
Mm-hmm.
I felt that most of these radio interviews are promo pieces. They don't ask the real questions.
What time the single drop?
Yeah, they don't talk about all the stuff that people talk about in the barbershops. An album be rapping about gang lyrics and gangster lyrics and blah, blah, but no one ever asks about any of that. I'm like, nah, fuck that.
Yeah.
When I get into it, I'm going to ask those types of questions. And people call me the police and the feds and all that. But look, these days, everyone does what I do. And
And most don't do it with the level of professionalism or polish that you do it as.
Yeah, and what you've done at Double XL and Rap Radar, you've always owned your lane. You've always stayed true to yourself. And that's why the Drakes and the Kendricks and all of that, they have to acknowledge who you are, and the Nickies and everybody. When you talk, people listen. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You talked about the Kendrick beef, the Kendrick and Drake beef. I remember when Not Like Us first came out, I was like, yo, it's a great song, but the mix quality takes away from it. And then that became a big, huge thing, right? Became a big, huge thing on Twitter.
The DJ Vlad is there, the DJ Vlad.
But look what happened recently. The engineer who actually put it together said, yes, Kendrick was on the phone. I was having to mix it on the phone, and he just wanted out us, And it
also think they tweaked it. If you
they
listen
tweaked
now
it
to
later on.
It's better now.
I was right.
Yes.
I was right the whole time. All I do is listen to audio all day long. I produce videos, and I have to make sure the audio's right. This is what I do.
The funny thing now in the DSP era, they can fix it and then act like they didn't fix it.
Yeah,
you was bugging. It never sounded like that.
The first version sounded rough.
Mm-hmm.
It took away from it. The version you hear now is not what you hear. It sounds great.
Soundly sounds great.
But it's a different song.
Yeah.
Me and Rodney Jerkins had a conversation about this. He's like, Vlad, you're right.
But see, isn't that dope though? That's your roots though. It's like DJ Vlad. It's
DJ Vlad knows how to listen to audio. But that's the whole thing, man. You have to lean into who you are, and you have to be unapologetic for who you are. And that's what's going to get you a real fan base, a real viewership.
Yes.
And if you continue to do that year after year, it's not going to happen in a year or two, but 5 years, 10 years down the line, you can have a real career, a real platform. That's something that you have done. I respect it, man, and I'm glad we finally got to do it like this.
First
That's what it is.
my guy.
Till next time.
Big Vlad.
Woo!